Chapter 1320. Su Jing respectfully took the arrow from Qi Yanran with both hands. Suddenly, she felt as if the arrow in her hand was a blessing. From now on, Su Jing must grasp every arrow that was shot. There were only about 400 soldiers left in Moon City's garrison. A total of 200,000 soldiers were left in the end. Moreover, Moon City was breached, and at least half of the civilians were unable to evacuate in time. Since then, Moon Kingdom had lost another city, so its territory had shrunk even more. There are still 100,000 half-orcs below. Wait for me to destroy them. Li Zongjiu said. Jiang Bai and the others were not worried. After all, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran had easily killed millions of half-orcs. They were so powerful that it was daunting. It was even difficult to imagine the strength of these people. Senior, you have to be careful. There are 3 gluttons in their army. Su Jing hurriedly said. What, gluttons? Even Jiang Bai was completely shocked. It was no wonder that with Moon City's strength, they were able to break through it so quickly. The gluttonous beast was already quite powerful. They were huge and could easily crush everything. Even the city walls could not withstand the impact of these gluttons. No wonder Moon City was defeated so quickly. Jiang Bai and the others finally understood that it was because of the gluttons. These gluttons were usually placed on the battlefield of the Upper Kingdom. How could they be deployed to the battlefield of the Lower Kingdom? Naturally, no one could resist them. Gluttons. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran listened and smiled disdainfully. Aren't they just a few big rats? The two looked at each other, and with a flash of their bodies, they rushed down. Whoosh! Whoosh! The figures of the two seemed to be accompanied by the sound of wind breaking as they directly disappeared. They were like 2 ghosts. General, those are gluttons. Don't they need our support? Because they had seen the horror of these gluttons. The city walls of Moon City were breached by the gluttons in less than an hour, and the street battles in the city lasted for 2 days. Even their general had been eaten by the glutton right from the start. No amount of elemental weapons could kill the gluttons. In the end, the 3 gluttons were completely unharmed. No need. Jiang Bai shook his head slowly. Although he did not know how strong Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were, Jiang Bai was sure that the gluttons below were no match for Li Zongjiu and the others. After all, even the assassin was killed by the 2 of them without anyone noticing. Therefore, Jiang Bai had absolute confidence in the strength of these 2 people. There was also the formation set up in Sui Shan City. He could clearly feel the power of the array. Even if the real heavenly master of the Upper Kingdom came, he would not be a match for the 2 of them. In the military camp of the fallen beastmen below, 3 black behemoths more than 20 meters tall were locked in iron cages. Even the beastmen themselves did not dare to say that they could control the gluttons 100%. Therefore, they would usually lock up the gluttons. Once the gluttons were hungry, they would launch a frenzied attack. They would not stop until they were dead. The gluttons would eat anything. Nothing could stop the gluttons from attacking. Even if there was a mountain in front of them, they would smash it. When the Beastman Patriarch saw the Beastman on the mountain, he ran back as if he had seen a ghost. When he was caught and questioned, he said that he did not know anything and did not see anything. The main point was that he did not see anything. The Beastmen in front were all dead. You didn't see anything clearly and you ran for your lives. Get out of here. The Patriarch immediately ordered the escaping beastmen to be thrown into the cages prepared for the gluttons. Patriarch, please spare us. Patriarch, please spare us. But in the next moment, they were thrown into the gluttons' cages. The gluttons bit the beastmen in their mouths and easily crushed them. One could even hear the sound of bones colliding with teeth. The Patriarch's name was Wild King. 2 days ago, he was in a meeting with the Realm Lord of the Fallen War Territory. When he heard that the heavenly master of the upper kingdom had appeared in Suishan city, he hurriedly spent a large amount of money to mobilize 3 gluttons to his tribe to fight. He did it to give himself a sense of security. At the same time, he wanted to take the lead in conquering the human camp so that they could continue to advance. For them, this was a very important matter. The sooner they achieved success, the sooner they could leave this damned place. You guys, go up the mountain and see what's going on. Wild King Patriarch said. Just as he finished speaking, a voice rang out. The 3 gluttons locked in the iron cages suddenly became restless. They tore at the iron cages in front of them in a frenzy and kept ramming into the iron cages. Under the frenzied ramming, the iron cages were deformed. What's going on? The sudden outburst of the gluttons made Wild King panic. He had never encountered such a situation before. Could it be that the gluttons were hungry? But even if they were hungry, they shouldn't be in such a state. Suddenly, the gluttons directly broke out of the cages and started to crazily bite the beastmen in front of them. Gluttony's body looked like a giant rat standing upright. With a light flick of its tail, more than 10 beastmen were thrown into its mouth. At the same time, it trampled many beastmen to death. How can this be? Hurry up and calm them down. What are you all doing? However, no matter how Wild King ordered, the beastmen couldn't stop the gluttons in front of them. The gluttons quickly shuttled back and forth in the army camp. The entire army was in a mess. Wild King only felt that he was about to collapse. If this continued, wouldn't they be finished? Suddenly, one of the gluttons rushed towards Wild King. Wild King's heart skipped a beat. Hurry up and protect me. Wild King's tribe leader hurriedly shouted. However, the soldiers beside him had already fled far away. Who would protect you when you were about to die? Moreover, this kind of situation wasn't something that could be easily protected. Wild King's tribe leader was immediately swept up by the tail of a glutton and violently thrown into the sky. When Wild King's body was in the air, he could see that there were 2 figures standing in the air. They stood in the air and looked down at the people below with indifferent eyes. It's you guys, Wild King saw the 2 people standing quietly in the air. They were like gods who looked down on all living things. In the next moment, Wild King's body fell down. He was bitten by the gluttons. Torn into pieces. Then, the 3 gluttons formed a triangular blockade in the army camp and devoured the beastmen one by one. Chapter 1321. Li Zongjiu easily controlled the 3 gluttons with his mental power. Therefore, it was normal to use the gluttons to repay the half-beastmen. Moreover, the gluttons were easy to control. It's not difficult to control them. Their mental power is very weak. Li Zongjiu said. Qi Yanran was quite curious about Li Zongjiu's method, so Li Zongjiu explained it to her. Go. Li Zongjiu gave the gluttons an order in their minds. He ordered them to run towards the half-beastmen's camp. Whenever they encountered a half-beastman, they were to eat them. At the very least, before meeting a powerful orc spirit master, the spirit command would remain in the gluttony's mind, and he would carry it out forever. Let's go. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran left directly. All the half-beastman warriors of the Wild King tribe were killed, most of them were killed by the gluttons. Therefore, the scene was extremely tragic. The 2 returned to the stronghold. After telling them that all the half-beastmen at the foot of the mountain were killed, everyone was surprised by the strength of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran. Of course, before that, Jiang Bai also told them about the heroic deeds of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran in Suishan city. If Li Zongjiu hadn't taken action, Suishan city would have been destroyed. Their Suishan city had probably already been breached. They couldn't stop the joint attack of the 5 tribes. When Su Jing and the others heard that the 5 major tribes had joined forces to attack Suishan city, their faces were extremely nervous. Obviously, they knew how desperate and terrifying this situation would be. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran took action in time. Therefore, they saved the people of Suishan City at this critical moment. This kind of drastic change between life and death was naturally hard to believe. It even felt like a dream. When Li Zongjiu returned, Li Zongjiu also used medicinal pills to help the soldiers recover from their injuries and stamina. In the eyes of Jiang Bai and others, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran had already become the representatives of omnipotence. How could there be such a perfect couple? It was shocking. Let's go and receive those commoners who have arrived at Star Moon City. Star Moon City was the second line of defense of the Moon Nation. If they could conquer Star Moon City, they would only need to pass through 2 more checkpoints to reach the capital of the Moon Nation. Therefore, it could be said that the situation was quite dangerous. If he didn't manage to block it this time, the consequences would be unimaginable. We won't be going with you. Be careful on the way. We still have to go to other places to help. Jiang Bai said. In addition, there were 2 other cities that had been breached and were on the verge of being breached. The situation was extremely urgent. If Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran could take action, of course, they would go and save more people. Our humble words are light, but please accept our 3 bows, benefactors. Su Jing once again knelt down in front of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran. Descending from the sky in such a desperate situation was what a god would do. Moreover, they didn't stop at all and continued to rush to other battlefields to help. Such righteousness naturally made Su Jing and other soldiers admire them. Under the sincere worship of these people, Li Zongjiu felt that the power in his merit hell was rapidly increasing. With this upgrade, Li Zongjiu finally knew what was missing in his previous life. The reason why Li Zongjiu had not been able to break through the final step was because he lacked the power of the hell of merits. The hell that was created could only give some things a form and present them to Li Zongjiu. Things that couldn't be seen in the past could now be seen in the hell. Therefore, Li Zongjiu had the merit hell in his body at this moment. He could clearly feel the increase of the power of merit. Although Li Zongjiu still didn't know the use of the power of merit, it was beneficial for something like this to increase a little. The cloud-piercing ship continued to move forward. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran also launched a real rescue in the Battle of Time. At this moment, outside Suishan City, 20 figures landed. Lord Xuemye, Suishan City is in front. Xuemye glanced at the situation in front. They had just returned from the Black Snake Ridge Fortress and had already checked the situation of the Black Snake Ridge Fortress. Xue Wu and the others were easily killed, so it must be done by a top expert. However, the depraved aura on the other party's body could be used to track them, but they couldn't find them at this moment. They couldn't help but be surprised. Obviously, the depraved aura was refined by the other party. It's really a good method to refine the depraved aura. In this way, it was equivalent to hiding one's body. But soon, Xuemye's eyes lit up. A few thousand miles away from here, a person carrying a large amount of depraved aura appeared. Obviously, he had just been infected, which meant that a large number of half-beastman soldiers were killed. It seems that he has already escaped. Does he want to kill the people of my fallen clan like cabbages? The 5 of you, destroy Suishan City. The rest of you, follow me. Xuemye immediately prepared to take people to chase after Li Zongjiu and Xue Wu. This matter must be done quickly. Otherwise, the other party will refine the depraved aura again. If they can't complete the task, the manager will be angry and they will be finished. Suishan City shouldn't continue to exist here, so he directly ordered to erase Suishan City. Yes, Lord Xuemye. Immediately, 5 top-notch assassins were left behind. Xuemye took the remaining people and chased after Li Zongjiu. I can go on a killing spree again. This time, I'm going to enjoy the process of killing. Someone couldn't help but sneer. Then, the 5 assassins' figures flashed and directly rushed toward Suishan City. The 5 of them couldn't restrain the crazy killing intent in their hearts. However, when the 5 of them rushed to the sky above Suishan City, they were about to escape into the city. Suddenly, a huge firebird appeared in the sky above Suishan City. The firebird turned around and directly flapped its wings at the 5 of them. Boom! Instantly, the 5 figures exploded in the sky like fireworks. They bloomed with extremely dazzling light. At this moment, the people in Suishan City looked up at the sky. The 5 assassins who were about to sneak in were directly blown to pieces. However, there were no more movements in the sky. Xuemia and the others, who had already left for some distance, suddenly stopped. What? Xuemia and the others looked back at the 5 figures that had turned into smoke. Their pupils shrank. You saw it? It seems to be an array. Chapter 13:22. Array Formation. As soon as he said that, the few of them were shocked as well. The half-beastmen were most afraid of array formations. In fact, when he first arrived, he directly launched a hunting operation to kill all the array masters, killing all those who knew array masters. He even forced them to not dare to show themselves. But it was also because of this that this array formation was terrifying. Now, a powerful array formation had appeared again. Xuemia and the others broke out in cold sweat. If they had rushed in just now, they would be the ones to die. It really is an array formation. Xuemia and the others' eyes flashed. Quickly report this to Lord Manager. Xuemia and the others observed for a while and found that the array formation was quite powerful. Even if they approached it with their cultivation, they would be seriously injured and would not be able to rush out. Some array masters in the human race were indeed quite terrifying. The array formation they casually set up was enough to endlessly trap and kill the half-beastmen. In the beginning, they suffered heavy losses. In the end, the higher-ups of the Beast God Temple made up their minds to hunt down all the array masters of the human race at all costs. So now, those who knew about array formations were either experts or dead. Even the endless pursuit of the half-beastmen was an extremely painful experience for ordinary array masters. In short, the half-beastmen were unscrupulous. In the end, they killed 80% of the human race's array masters. Their methods were also quite cruel. Now, an array master had appeared. This made them vigilant. Lord, if we can hunt down an advanced array master, at this moment, a subordinate came forward and said. Although he wanted to say something, the meaning in his words was quite obvious. But it was obviously an extremely dangerous thing. They were indeed inexperienced when facing an array master, but wealth came from danger. If they wanted to be promoted in the Beast God Temple, they must first make a great contribution. You're right. Let's go, this array master will die without a doubt. Xuemia had long wanted to reach a higher level. If this continued, when would there be an end? He must have a breakthrough and progress. Hunting down an array master was bound to be a great contribution. With this contribution, he might even become a candidate to become a manager. When he sits in this position, his status will be completely different. When the divine temple completely transmits to him, it will be time for him to be rewarded. Xuemia had already seized this opportunity to turn things around. The operation this time was extremely important, and he absolutely could not reveal it to anyone. If someone else got ahead of him, it would be a huge loss for him. Immediately, Xuemia led his men to chase after Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu and the others relied on the speed of the cloud-piercing ship to resolve the remaining 2 crises within a day, saving millions of people. At the same time, wherever Li Zongjiu passed by, he would set up a series of formations. All of them were defended by the Nirvana Heavenly Fire formation. When Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran arranged the formation, they were more proficient and the formation they arranged was more perfect. Huo Wushuang, who was waiting in the unparalleled sword, shook her head after seeing the progress of the two, and exclaimed that they were monsters. She did not expect the two to be so terrifyingly talented. The two of them directly learned her methods one after another. She did not teach them very carefully. At most, it could be considered as a demonstration, but the two of them had already grasped the essence. She could not help but sigh at the terrifying strength of the two. It was really frightening. On the cloud-piercing ship, there were a few more members. They were the princess from the Yun nation and her personal guards. The princess of the Yun nation was also stationed in the Yun nation city, White Cloud City. However, all of the soldiers were sacrificed. Half of the people in White Cloud City were cruelly killed by these people. This made the princess of the Yun nation extremely sad and indignant. They threatened to take advantage of the situation and destroy the command center of the Fallen War territory. As long as the command center of the Fallen War territory was destroyed, it would be a beautiful counterattack. The war had been going on for more than 300 years. In these 300 years, countless countries had been destroyed. No one knew how many people had died, but the human race had been constantly retreating. They had been beaten back repeatedly, and they had never been able to take back their own territory and drive these foreign races out of the continent. This time, the plan could be carried out because of the presence of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran. In fact, even if they did not say anything, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran had already decided to destroy the Fallen War territory master. Only by gathering together would they be able to kill quickly. The princess of the Yun nation was called Chu Yenguan. When Li Zongjiu and the others arrived, Chu Yenguan and the others were preparing to commit suicide. Instead of dying in the hands of these people, it was better to end their own lives. This was the only way to ensure that they would not see their own faces when they died. Thank you for your help this time. Yenguan has nothing to repay you, but I am willing to give you my primordial stones. Chu Yenguan directly handed one of his storage belts to Li Zongjiu. Obviously, the few of them could see that Li Zongjiu was the leader of the two. Chu Yenguan had chatted with Jiang Bai before and knew that Li Zongjiu liked primordial stones. Oh. Li Zongjiu, who was meditating, opened his eyes. He saw the storage belt in front of him. It was enough to see how big the space was since it was able to forge a storage treasure into a belt. There are 20 million upper-grade primordial stones inside. Chu Yenguan said. 20 million primordial stones. And they were all upper-grade primordial stones. Although Li Zongjiu was already mentally prepared, he was still shocked. These people were already so rich. How rich would the other people from the upper nation be? Ahem, if you have something to say, just say it. Li Zongjiu was not a simple young man. Seeing that the other party took the initiative to give away so many primordial stones, even if you were a princess, there was no reason for you to give away so many primordial stones. It should be known that these primordial stones were very useful in such a state of war. It might even save your life. Senior, please accept me as your disciple. Chu Yenguan said firmly. Accept her as his disciple. Chu Yenguan's talent could only be regarded as ordinary. At least in Li Zongjiu's eyes, except for him, the others were also ordinary. But now it seemed that Qi Yanran's talent was even more powerful. It had reached a level that Li Zongjiu could not see clearly. Not interested. Li Zongjiu waved his hand. He was not interested in teaching a disciple. Moreover, it was not easy to become Li Zongjiu's disciple. What's more, he had to bring someone with him now. Wouldn't that become a burden? Let me have a look. Give me your hand. Qi Yanran, on the other hand, was interested in Chu Yan. Chapter 1323. Chu Yenguan stretched out his hand to Qi Yanran. If he could become Qi Yanran's disciple, he would be equally excited. As long as he could learn real skills and kill these half-beastmen, it didn't matter who he became. Chu Yenguan's talent was not bad. At least in the Yun country, he was an extremely top existence. At such a young age, he had already reached the origin ancestor realm. Although he was only a first-grade origin ancestor, there were still many people who could not reach his level. However, Chu Yenguan himself did not have much confidence. He just wanted to fight for an opportunity. If he did not fight for it, he might not even have this opportunity. What did you see? Li Zongjiu asked. Qi Yanran was checking Chu Yenguan's physical condition as if she was taking his pulse. Li Zongjiu was naturally quite envious of her ability to detect other people's talent by touching them. Therefore, he also wanted to learn a few moves when he was free. Although Qi Yanran had learned a lot now, some things could not be said at all. They could only be understood but could not be explained. Therefore, Li Zongjiu could only observe and learn now. There is a little compatibility. I have a nameless breathing technique here. If you can cultivate it, you will naturally know where to find me. If you can't cultivate it, your achievements will be slightly higher than yours now. Qi Yanran said. Thank you, senior. Chu Yenguan did not dare to take advantage of her. If he directly called her master now, it would make Qi Yanran unhappy. Immediately, Qi Yanran stretched out her finger and gently touched Chu Yenguan's eyebrows. A force quickly poured into Chu Yenguan's mind. Although Chu Yenguan was surprised by Qi Yanran's means, he was not worried that Qi Yanran would harm him. After all, with Qi Yanran's strength, it was too easy to kill him. Buzz! In Chu Yenguan's mind, there was suddenly a message. When he received this information, Chu Yenguan's heart jumped. He didn't expect there to be such a method. It was as if something suddenly appeared in his mind, and it left a deep impression on him, making it impossible for him to forget. Thank you, senior. Chu Yenguan thanked her again. Go down first. Qi Yanran waved her hand. At this moment, Li Zongjiu opened his eyes and looked at Qi Yanran. He seemed to have sensed something. Then, the two figures disappeared in front of Chu Yenguan. Whoosh! The two appeared on the deck at the same time. In the next moment, the cloud-piercing ship seemed to have sunk into a quagmire. It was hooked by countless ropes, and there was no way for it to break free. There was even a sharp weapon that was directly thrown into one of the energy generators of the cloud-piercing ship. Boom! At the place where the power was generated, it would also explode. Until now, Jiang Bai and the others were shocked to discover that the cloud-piercing ship had been attacked. On guard! Jiang Bai's bodyguard shouted loudly. In an instant, everyone was on high alert. It was not that Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran did not feel safe here. It was just that they had developed such a reaction over the years. If they were not vigilant enough, they could die at any time. Under the protection of his personal guards, Chu Yan also came to the deck together with them. At this moment, the flying ship had lost its power and was rapidly falling down. Qi Yanran waved her hand and used the desolate heaven essence to bind the cloud-piercing ship. At the same time, the cloud-piercing ship seemed to be suspended in the air. Huh, you two have good skills. Which one of you is an array master? After the flying ship stabilized, a voice rang out. Then, a bolt of lightning flashed and more than 10 figures appeared in the sky. They were like messengers from hell. Immediately, everyone became nervous. It's the assassins! Jiang Bai exclaimed. The assassins had finally arrived. The assassins from the Dark Hall were ruthless. Once they appeared, they would pile up corpses into mountains. They killed people like flies and took pleasure in killing people. The cloud-piercing ship was restrained by the assassins. It was obvious that the assassins had used some method to destroy it. However, the fact that the assassins were able to follow them was proof of their ability. Although Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were strong, the assassins were equally strong. To Jiang Bai and the others, the assassins were mysterious. Even Li Zongjiu and the others might not be able to resist them. Now that they were facing the assassins in front of them, it was difficult to judge who was stronger. Naturally, they were nervous. Both of us. Li Zongjio said straightforwardly. These people in front of them really thought highly of themselves. They directly landed on the cloud-piercing ship. The assassins only dared to attack because they were certain that there was no array nearby. Otherwise, even if they were given 10 guts, they wouldn't dare to approach an array master. A cold light flashed in Xuemye's eyes. Either this kid was bluffing or he was telling the truth. 2. Interesting. The corners of Xuemye's mouth curled up. He didn't expect that he would be able to capture 2 array masters. His credit was doubled. How could Xuemye not be happy? Therefore, when Xuemye was happy, he suppressed this joy in his heart. So, the soldiers of my fallen clan were killed by the 2 of you? Xuemye said. And those few sneaky rat heads from yesterday were also killed by me. Li Zongjio said. At the same time, he looked at the people in front of him. The higher their cultivation, the purer their bloodline, and the more they looked like humans. However, their essence wouldn't change. Very good. If the 2 of you are willing to come with us today, we will be merciful and let them live. What do you think? The corners of Xuemye's mouth curled up slightly. Now, he had changed his mind. If he could capture the 2 array masters alive, his credit would be too high. It might even be so high that they wouldn't dare to imagine it. Xuemye couldn't wait to imagine himself becoming the manager of this assassination palace. He would directly become the manager. If that was the case, he would really bring glory to his ancestors and make a name for himself. Every manager had considerable power. Moreover, managers had the opportunity to be baptized. After the baptism, their strength would become stronger. And for the fallen clan, this would be a supreme glory. Strength wasn't strength. They could talk about it later. However, if they could get such glory, it would be the most important thing for them. Jiang Bai and the others' faces were extremely ugly. Chu Yenguan was well aware of the fallen race's methods against array masters. If they couldn't use them, they would directly destroy them. Senior, the fallen clan has a deep fear of array masters. So, once we find an array master, we will either subdue them or destroy them. Chu Yenguan said. Obviously, he didn't want to see the 2 of them fall into the hands of the assassination palace. However, Xuemye and the others were full of confidence. They glanced at Qi Yanran and Li Zongjio, who didn't make any movements. They were a little vigilant. I will give you 5 seconds to think about it. I will not give you time to arrange the array. If you don't agree, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 1324. Xuemye said coldly, as if he felt that the more he frowned, the more intimidating he was. However, Li Zongjio and Qi Yanran both looked at Xuemye with a faint smile. He wanted to show off in front of Li Zongjio and Qi Yanran. They had never seen such an overconfident person. Then, the few of them waited quietly for 5 seconds. 5 seconds passed. Li Zongjio took the initiative to provoke. Time has passed. Can you show us how ruthless you are? Jiang Bai and the others were already very nervous. However, seeing Li Zongjio and Qi Yanran so calm, they calmed down slightly. Since Li Zongjio and Qi Yanran were not flustered at all, they must have a way to deal with the situation in front of them. Now, they were surrounded by these assassins. They had no other way. The only thing they could do was to kill themselves before they were caught. They did not want to fall into the hands of these people. Otherwise, they would feel the pain of death. He stood side by side with Chu Yen. They stood together behind Qi Yanran. When he heard that Li Zongjio took the initiative to provoke the other party, Jiang Bai became even more nervous. Did he not know the other party's strength, or did he deliberately play with them because he knew the other party's strength? Li Zongjio and Qi Yanran's strength should not be a problem. Xuemye felt the deep ridicule and provocation in Li Zongjio's eyes. Immediately, Xuemye sneered. He stretched out 2 fingers and pointed at Li Zongjiu. Break his legs. As his voice fell, suddenly, 2 black shadows flew directly from the side at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, they came in front of Li Zongjiu. However, before Li Zongjiu could move, Qi Yanran had already made her move. With a flick of his finger, 2 beams of 5-colored divine light blasted the 2 men's heads with a bang. The 2 people did not have time to react. Their bodies fell straight forward, leaving a long trace on the deck. Blood flowed on the deck. Xuemye suddenly widened his eyes. Obviously, he was surprised by Qi Yanran's means. After all, Xuemye didn't think that Qi Yanran's speed would be faster. Moreover, it was Qi Yanran who attacked. He thought that Li Zongjiu would be more powerful. It seemed that this Li Zongjiu was the real array master. The other girl was only the array master's guardian. The fallen race who participated in hunting array masters knew that. Every array master would have a powerful guardian by his side. Otherwise, the array master would be useless. It would be like a piece of fat meat on a chopping board that could be easily chopped up. You guys hold that woman. Transform. Roar. Then, with a low roar, the surrounding people also roared in anger. There seemed to be a strong aura that was rapidly gathering on their bodies. With the injection of this power. The aura, these people's aura. Bang! The remaining 12 people jumped to the deck. At this moment, some of their clothes were pierced by some sharp scales. When they saw the dark red barbed scales on these people, Chu Yanguan nearly cried out. Flying Scales Troop. These people are all the top troops of the Assassination Palace. Little girl, you're quite knowledgeable. The leader of the attackers glanced at Chu Yanguan. He didn't expect a low-level person like Chu Yanguan to be able to recognize them as members of the Flying Scales Troop. The so-called Flying Scales Troop was actually formed because their original bodies were extremely similar. However, this troop was proficient in assassination and was merciless. Whoosh! Qi Yanran took a step forward and took the initiative to rush toward these 12 people. These 12 figures also jumped up in an instant. Their figures intertwined and directly formed a strangling net toward Qi Yanran. Qi Yanran also raised her palm. As he waved his palm, the 12 people were forced to retreat. Xuemye saw that this little girl Qi Yanran had some strength. He immediately stopped hesitating. If he continued to wait, maybe Qi Yanran would kill all the people of the Flying Scales Troop. Xuemye immediately transformed. After transforming, Xuemye's appearance looked more like a slender fish tail. At the same time, there was a horn on his head. It's so troublesome to transform. Li Zongjiu saw that Xuemye's transformation seemed to be a little troublesome. He still had to struggle for a long time. You're still so stubborn in the face of death. After transforming, Xuemye's aura was even stronger. He even felt that he could directly destroy a city with just a breath of strength. Jiang Bai and the others felt extremely suffocated. Finally, Xuemye made his move. He directly turned into a black light and rushed toward Li Zongjiu. Since he couldn't get Li Zongjiu, he could only destroy Li Zongjiu. In order to not give Qi Yanran a chance to react and rescue him, Xuemye directly used his strongest move. Blood Extermination. When blood extermination was used, it would burn the blood in his body. At the same time, his speed would be increased to a terrifying degree. Even if an expert of the same level came, he would only be killed in a second. Boom! Xuemye's figure suddenly stopped. It was not by himself. It was forcibly suppressed by a strong hand. The horn on Xuemye's head became an offensive weapon, but at this moment, it was easily blocked by a hand. Is this all you've got? Li Zongjiu was still looking forward to it. After all, the people sent this time seemed to be a bit interesting. However, as soon as they started fighting, Li Zongjiu was completely disappointed. How could he be so weak? At this level, even the military master of the Shengyan dynasty could easily defeat him. What? Blood Mie could feel Li Zongjiu's strength. Li Zongjiu had actually blocked his attack so easily. Then, Xue Mie gritted his teeth. He continued to ignite his blood. Sure enough, Li Zongjiu had some skills. He must be hiding some top magic weapon. Xue Mie's figure directly turned into a dozen doppelgangers. At the same time, they rushed towards Li Zongjiu from all directions. Facing Xue Mie's attack, Li Zongjiu also responded. Slap. A slap was directly thrown out. All of Xue Mie's doppelgangers were destroyed. They directly rolled on the deck more than a dozen times. I say, you're not a fake, are you? Did the beast god temple raise trash like you? Li Zongjiu stood with his hands behind his back and said disdainfully. It seemed that in his eyes, Xue Mie and the others were just a group of trash that could be spurned anywhere. Bang! 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 Qi Yanran seemed to have already tried these people's tricks and routines. Impatiently, she directly slapped the people in front of her to the ground. Bang! 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 Immediately, the 12 so-called experts of the Flying Scales troop all fell to the ground with serious injuries. They just happened to be in front of Xue Mie. Retreat! Xue Mie shouted. Obviously, he also knew that the strength of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran was not something that they could resist. Even after transforming, they were still not a match for the two of them. One was fine, but who knew that both of them were so powerful? You want to leave? Sure. Li Zongjiu directly flashed and then patted everyone's head. Suddenly, a mental command was sent into the minds of the Flying Scales troop. The situation of this command was similar to that of gluttony. It was also because Li Zongjiu found that the mental strength of these fallen people was relatively weak. Therefore, it was easier to control them. Since they were so easy to control, there was nothing much to say. If he made good use of them, he might be able to achieve an incredible effect. However, Xue Mie and the others only felt their bodies shake. It seemed that Li Zongjiu was too late to stop them, so they quickly got up and fled into the distance. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the sky. We can't let them escape, Jiang Bai said with regret. If they could keep these people here, it could at least be considered as cutting off one of the assassination palace's right-hand men. At least, they would not dare to be so arrogant. At least, they could make these people suffer a little loss. It's okay, they will die. Li Zongjiu smiled faintly. The mental command that was sent just now would not have any effect under normal circumstances, but once they got close to the fallen people, they would automatically release this mental command and take the initiative to attack and kill the fallen people. At the beginning, it would certainly have a surprising effect. Before they were killed, they should be able to easily kill some people. It was also a counterattack. When Jiang Bai and the others heard Li Zongjiu's words, they were a little confused. However, they did not care. Since Li Zongjiu said it, it must be effective. It's just that this flying boat is broken. Jiang Bai, on the other hand, was vexed. She only had one cloud-piercing boat. I have it. Chu Yen said. Chapter 1325. The flying boat in Chu Yenguan's hand. Judging from its appearance, it was even more powerful than the cloud-piercing boat. This is a star boat. When Jiang Bai saw the star boat, she looked at Chu Yenguan in shock. She did not expect Chu Yenguan to have a star boat. If he had the star boat in his hand, it would not be a problem for him to escape. However, when they arrived, Chu Yenguan and the others seemed to be ready to die for their country. Since they still had a chance to live, why didn't they use the star boat to escape? Jiang Bai began to speculate in her heart. Obviously, this star boat had an extraordinary origin. Only the royal family of a country was qualified to own a star boat. Could it be that Chu Yanguan's real identity was not the princess of the Yun country? Jiang Bai guessed in her heart. However, she could quickly connect the dots. After all, this kind of thing often happened in such a world. A princess in distress might have experienced too many escapes along the way. In the end, she might even feel that there was no hope for her to escape forever. Therefore, even if there was a chance of survival, she did not need it. Unless there was a real hope of turning the situation around. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran carried such hope. In fact, it had been a long time since they had won such a satisfying battle. Your boat is not bad. Li Zongjiu looked at the star boat with great appreciation. Even in Li Zongjiu's previous life, after 3,000 years, he had never seen such an advanced flying boat. Needless to say, it was very powerful. No wonder she gave out tens of millions of upper-grade primordial stones so casually. This girl's family was not ordinary. However, Li Zongjiu was not interested in Chu Yanguan's identity. After all, these things were not deliberately collected by Li Zongjiu. So what if they were extraordinary? In front of Li Zongjiu, they could be easily destroyed with a punch. Everyone boarded the star boat. Then, the star boat rushed toward the core area of the Fallen War territory. The headquarters of the Fallen War territory was located in the capital of an extremely powerful country. The strength of this country was equivalent to the combined strength of 3 small countries. However, no matter what, it was unable to withstand the attack of 10 tribes, which was a total of 2 million fallen warriors. There were even more secret weapons such as the gluttons that made their move. Therefore, the strength of the Fallen War realm was not to be underestimated. This place had been renamed Fallen City. The Lord of the Fallen Realm also controlled an extremely powerful elite force that was stationed in the Fallen City. However, the Fallen City was usually used as a logistical supply. But today, something big happened in Fallen City. In just half an hour, the 3 gluttons rushed into the Fallen City and started attacking crazily. At first, the people of Fallen City thought that the gluttony was throwing a tantrum, or that it wanted to eat something. However, they soon realized that the gluttony had only bitten people to death and did not eat them. All of a sudden, it caused a huge loss. Thus, the Lord of the Fallen Realm immediately ordered the 3 gluttons to be killed. When the glutton was killed, the glutton was killed. 2 of the Fallen City's city walls had been destroyed. Although the human race seemed to be at a disadvantage now, the gluttons would occasionally launch surprise attacks to kill the human race. Therefore, the Fallen City had to be careful. In addition to the city walls, at least thousands of fallen warriors were trampled to death. With the strength of the gluttons, killing these fallen warriors was like child's play. In order to catch the gluttons, many elite soldiers were sacrificed. For a time, the entire Fallen City suffered heavy losses. Just when the Fallen City had just stabilized. In the distant sky, a terrifying light seemed to be attacking. The surrounding air also began to vibrate. The soldiers of Fallen City also looked up at the sky. The airflow in the sky was rapidly forming a storm. It's the human race's warship. Some of the orcs with sharp eyes saw a huge figure rapidly approaching from afar. They immediately roared. He was extremely shocked by the situation in front of him. He did not expect that the human race would dare to rush into Fallen City. It should be known that in Fallen City, there were more than 500,000 fallen warriors and elite soldiers. Moreover, each of them was quite brave. There were nearly 10 gluttons, who were guarding this place to ensure that they could provide timely support to various places. What's going on? The star boat hovered directly above the Fallen City. Directly below it was the palace where the Lord of the Fallen Realm resided. The so-called palace was just the palace that the Lord of the Fallen Realm had refurbished. In terms of building construction, the orcs didn't have much talent. Even their weapons weren't excellent at all. If it wasn't for their tyrannical physique, they wouldn't have been able to defeat the orcs. If not for their strong physique and beast-like strength, they would not be a match for the human race. In short, in the current situation, in fact, both sides had their strengths and weaknesses. They kept each other in check and balance to maintain the current situation of constantly consuming each other's strength. If there was a heaven-shaking reversal in the end, then there would definitely be a powerful force that would directly break in. What's going on? The Lord of the Fallen Realm left the body of a female half-orc, quickly put on his clothes and walked out. It was not easy to be in a good mood today and wanted to play some tricks. Who knew that such a thing would happen? This made the Lord of the Fallen Realm very unhappy. He had just gotten rid of a few crazy gluttons, and now there was another problem. Boom! The Lord of the Fallen Realm had not put on his pants properly. Directly, a powerful light beam fell from the sky. It directly shattered the place where the Lord of the Fallen Realm was. And the Lord of the Fallen Realm was directly crushed into pieces. Under the strong fluctuation of the light beam, he was turned into ashes. Some of the weapons on the star boat also launched attacks at this moment. Suddenly, a series of explosions came from Fallen City. Rumble. Li Zhongjiu and Qi Yanran also attacked at the same time. The mountain-toppling golden seal was constantly blasted out. The desolate heaven essence in Qi Yanran's hand was also used to an extremely powerful and amazing effect. Qi Yanran threw the desolate heaven essence in her hand into the sky. In the next moment, the desolate heaven essence turned into a white cloud. Then, white light spots fell from the white cloud. It was as if they had turned into raindrops. In an instant, they fell and accurately penetrated the bodies of these half-orcs. Boom! 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 The power of the desolate heaven essence turned into raindrops and easily killed the half-orcs in front of them. A series of raindrops fell. However, in the city, these half-orcs were difficult to find directly. Some of them were hiding and it was harder to find. Help me. Li Zhongjiu said. Qi Yanran did not hesitate and directly transferred her power into Li Zhongjiu's body. Then, a white dragon figure appeared behind Li Zhongjiu. The dragon swept across the sky. Immediately, a terrifying divine power descended. A power that could not be seen with the naked eye directly swept across the entire city. Mental power. Boom! In an instant, the remaining half-orcs were all killed. In the entire fallen city, there were no more living creatures. Chapter 1326. On the Star Boat. Jiang Bai and the others were looking at the situation below. Just now, Chu Yanguan had also controlled the star boat to launch a series of cannon blasts. However, the cannons on the star boat were almost worn out. Therefore, the power of the cannons had weakened a lot. However, under the attack of Li Zhongjiu and Qi Yanran, these half-orcs in the fallen city had no chance to escape. A gust of wind blew. It stirred up the sand and dust in the fallen city. Dead, are they all dead? When Jiang Bai and the others saw that all the half-orcs in the fallen city had been killed, they were shocked. They bitterly resisted, and even racked their brains. They used every possible means to attack the fallen city, but after trying for a long time, they still didn't succeed. They had never succeeded. Now, under the leadership of Li Zhongjiu and Qi Yanran, they were all killed in just a few minutes. In just 10 minutes, everything had been settled. There was no trace of any enemy in the entire fallen city. He was actually able to kill all of them. After Li Zhongjiu killed these half-orcs, the Hell of Merits was also shining with golden light. Within the golden light, there seemed to be a figure that was directly born. It was a gold core. Li Zhongjiu saw this gold core through his perception. However, this gold core seemed to be fixed in the Hell of Merits, and it seemed to be brewing something. There was no way to take it out, so it could only be left in the Hell of Merits. It seemed that the Hell of Merits didn't require any cultivation to begin with. Li Zhongjiu was also curious about the effects of the Hell of Merits, but there were still a lot of aftermath to clean up. Everyone landed in the fallen city and began to search for things around, but they found that all of them were dead. There was no one alive, and some of them didn't even have a single wound on their bodies. They died directly. The fallen city had been ruined by the half-beast men. After Jiang Bai and the others occupied the fallen city, they excitedly sent out signals to their respective barracks. At the same time, Jiang Bai sent 2 guards back to Suishan City as quickly as possible to mobilize the army. Fallen City had been taken down with great difficulty, so of course, they had to make good use of it. As long as the Battle of Time could regain control of Fallen City. This was the first step of the counterattack. Jiang Bai also sent out signals to the other cities. Along the way, there were still 2 other tribes that were besieging the city. One of them was the Tashan tribe. The Tashan tribe had an army of 300,000 half-blood beast men. They were very powerful and had been surrounding a city, but they weren't in a hurry to attack. The current situation was so chaotic. It was said that in the past 2 days, a heavenly master of Shang Kingdom had appeared and was killing people everywhere. Several tribes had already fallen in the hands of this person. Therefore, Tashan had to be careful. Otherwise, it would be too late for regrets if they were targeted by the celestial master of the Shang nation. The city that was confronting Tashan was a kingdom called the Water Nation. This kingdom was also staking everything on one throw. They had mobilized all their troops to the forefront. At this time, there were 500,000 troops stationed in Tianshui City. The king of the Water Nation was personally leading the battle. At this moment, the king of the Water Nation suddenly received signals from the Suishan Nation and the Yun Nation. Tomorrow, they would attack the Tashan tribe at the same time. Why did they suddenly come up with such a countermeasure? It was too late for them to defend themselves. How could they still have the strength to fight back? However, the king of the Water Nation was also a ruthless person. Now that he was surrounded by these people, he was quite sullen. Now that there was such a good opportunity to fight back, there was nothing to worry about. Pass down the order. Prepare for the decisive battle tomorrow. Let's see how we kill these bastards. Immediately, the king of the Water Nation let out a low growl. To the king of the Water Nation, being surrounded and delayed by these people was simply a humiliation. Now that he finally had a chance to fight back, he would spare no effort. The generals under his command also admired their king very much. If they were to defend passively, they would only be able to consume their soldiers passively. If they were to die today, 3,000 would die tomorrow. In the end, they would only be able to protect this city. The enemy could casually send some troops over and they could easily break through the city. However, if they were to take the initiative to attack, they would definitely be able to achieve a surprising effect and completely defeat the enemy. Not only would they be able to break their formation, but they would also be able to break their morale. If you are ruthless, then I will be even more ruthless. That was what he thought. The next day, Patriarch Tashan was leisurely lying on a chair made of human skin to rest and bask in the sun. The fallen tribe also liked to bask in the sun. They did not like to hide in a dark corner. If they liked to hide in a dark corner, there would be no need to attack these people's cities all day long. Counting the days, it has been 8 years since I left for the war. In another 2 years, I will have to replace the front line. Then, I can go to the rear and rest. The fighting in the front line is really too dangerous. I can't believe that I can survive until the end. Tashan counted the days every day. The fallen tribe also had their own villages and towns. Even the cities that had been conquered had become the territory of the fallen clan, and they had treated them as their own homes. However, an outsider would always be an outsider and would eventually be chased out. A huge explosion shook the surroundings. Even the king of Tianshui City, who was 10 miles away. He could clearly hear it. The time has come. Charge. The king of Tianshui nation immediately roared. Suddenly, 400,000 soldiers rushed out. The remaining 100,000 soldiers stayed behind to guard the headquarters. At least, they could provide reinforcements at any time. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were both on a mountain peak, watching the battle below in full swing. It was not that Li Zongjiu was unwilling to take action, but these people had been holding back for so long. Of course, it was appropriate for them to release the pressure in their hearts. If Li Zongjiu took action and wiped out all of the Tashan tribe, it would be a threat to them. Only at the critical moment could they change the situation of the battle. After all, the soldiers of the human race were not incompetent. They were all real soldiers. The battle broke out in an instant. The three kingdoms and the Tashan tribe fought for 2 days and the Tashan tribe was completely defeated. Although there were casualties among the three kingdoms, everyone was happy to kill. This was a desperate counterattack, a real counterattack. On the 3rd day, Tashan's head was chopped off by the king of Tianshui nation. The king of Tianshui nation chopped off the head of the Tashan tribe. Immediately, the joy in his heart poured out like a waterfall. His heart was filled with excitement and shock. Son, I've finally avenged you. I've slaughtered these bastards. The king of Tianshui nation roared to the sky. 3 days of killing had exhausted him, but at this moment, he still persevered. He must fight to the last moment. The opportunity for the human race to fight back had finally arrived. Jiang Bai, Chu Yan, and the others also came to the king of Tianshui nation. Jiang Bai of Tianshui nation greets the king. Chu Yan Guan of Yun nation. Chu Yan Guan did not stand on ceremony. After knowing this, the king of Tianshui nation finally got to know these two strong allies. If the two of them had not brought a large number of reinforcements, the human race would not have been able to wipe out the Tashan tribe so quickly. You are, the king of Tianshui nation glanced at Chu Yan Guan. When Chu Yan Guan nodded, the king of Tianshui nation nodded in response. Since he knew a little, he did not continue to speak. Thank you for your help. The human race is in high spirits with the help of the two generals. The king of Tianshui nation said with a smile. They had been besieged by these people from the fallen battlefield for 8 years. They had lost many soldiers and generals over the past 8 years. Today, they could finally settle the score once and for all. It's not because of us. It's because of the two seniors who have been cultivating in seclusion. Without them, our city would have fallen a long time ago. Jiang Bai said. Nearly half a month had passed. Half a month ago, Jiang Bai and the others had discovered the traces of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran at the Celestial Master Mountain. Now, in just half a month, the two of them had helped the Battle of Time defeat the fallen battlefield. They had completely wiped out a large portion of the fallen clan's forces. For the human race, this was a great victory. When the king of Tianshui nation heard that such experts had appeared, he could not help but be surprised. He quickly asked the two of them to introduce him. However, Li Zongjiu had already told Jiang Bai not to bring anyone to meet them. After all, he did not have the time and energy to greet these people. At this moment, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were cultivating in a mountain outside the fallen city. Most of his time should be spent on cultivation. Only with a strong cultivation could they save the sacred martial realm. However, in the sacred martial realm, there were many people who were stronger than Li Zongjiu. They had already reached this level, but none of them had taken action. Obviously, Li Zongjiu's current cultivation was not enough. Chapter 1327. Li Zongjiu's mind sank into the hell of merits. At this moment, he was also studying the golden core in the hell of merits. I've never seen or heard of such a thing before. Where did it come from? Li Zongjiu circled around the golden core. At the same time, as time passed, the golden core seemed to be spinning in circles, absorbing the golden light in the hell of merits. Finally, it gradually grew bigger. Originally, the golden core was only the size of an egg. In just a few days, it had already turned into the size of a bowl. Li Zongjiu knocked on it and found that the golden core was still solid. He wanted to move it, but he was powerless. The golden core was still in the same place, motionless. Looks like it's not time yet. Li Zongjiu thought in his heart and gave up on studying the golden core. Recently, Li Zongjiu had also harvested a batch of medicinal herbs. The medicinal herbs of the sacred martial realm were rich in spiritual energy and were quite old. It seemed that the people in the sacred martial realm rarely relied on pills to increase their cultivation. They just needed to cultivate as hard as they could. Or perhaps it was because the resources in this place were still insufficient, so there were no pills and the like. They were rather scarce. Only after the people above distributed the pills could they have such resources. The beast men did not know how to refine medicinal pills. Therefore, this batch of precious medicinal herbs fell into Li Zongjiu's hands. He placed the Shura cauldron at the entrance of the courtyard. Li Zongjiu also threw medicinal herbs into it. Li Zongjiu directly refined a furnace of grade 8 elixir. However, there was no elixir thunder in the sky. This surprised Li Zongjiu. Originally, he wanted to use the elixir thunder to refine his body. Unexpectedly, there was no elixir thunder in this place. Another batch of good medicinal herbs. Li Zongjiu put away these medicinal pills. Now that his cultivation had reached this level, it was not easy to break through. Even if he took these medicinal pills every day, the effect would be minimal. He could only take it slow. However, it was still necessary to consolidate his means. Qi Yanran, on the other hand, was making rapid progress. Qi Yanran was now able to freely enter and exit the Blue Bird platform. Little Blue has recovered. Qi Yanran suddenly appeared in front of Li Zongjiu and said. Then, a small blue bird flapped its wings and flew briskly in front of Li Zongjiu. It could be said that all these experiences were brought about by the mountain puffin. Li Zongjiu didn't think that things would be so coincidental. This mountain seagull was actually so powerful. It directly changed their fates, and in the end, they inexplicably came to such a place. In fact, if they didn't come here, they wouldn't have had such an experience. Qi Yanran gently leaned her head on Li Zongjiu's shoulder. The two of them stood on top of the mountain, facing the setting sun and quietly feeling the tranquility in the air. If only there were no wars in the world. Qi Yanran said slowly. Wouldn't it be better if everyone lived in a peaceful environment? How can there be no wars in the world? Even if the beast man in front of us disappeared, the big countries in the sacred martial realm will definitely fight with each other. The disputes will never stop. Li Zongjiu said, only by being strong can one keep a place safe. The peace you see is just because someone is helping you carry the burden. Qi Yanran also nodded. She naturally understood these principles, but she also hoped to see a day of peace. However, it seemed to be impossible. Where there were people, there would be conflicts. This would never change. The battle of time had won a great victory. The 5 kingdoms had entered Fallen City one after another and completed the restoration of this place. The Fallen City was completely reconstructed. With the strength of the 5 kingdoms, it was naturally easy to rebuild a city. Now was not the ancient times, where stones needed to be stacked up bit by bit. Instead, there were some large machines. It took a total of 5 days to restore the entire Fallen City. However, the news of the victory of the Battle of Time directly reached the ears of one of the countries, and it immediately caused a huge uproar. Immediately, he dispatched an emissary. It seemed that this was a very serious problem. Now, with the strength of the 5 kingdoms, they jointly built an important military camp in Fallen City. Before there was a leader, the representatives of the 5 kingdoms also specially gathered to discuss matters. The Water King did not come personally but sent an old general to oversee this place. When they heard the news of the people from the 5 kingdoms coming, the generals of the 5 kingdoms also prepared a welcoming ceremony. At least, these people could come, which meant that they represented hope. The 5 kingdoms still valued them very much. The kingdom that came this time was called the Country of Fire. In the Country of Fire, there was an imperial tutor who directly cultivated on the Holy Mountain and became a disciple of the Holy Mountain, which made people envious. In the Country of Fire, there were at least 10 heavenly masters from the 5 kingdoms. Originally, the heavenly masters were all overseeing important places. This time, a heavenly master was specially sent here for them. To them, it was also a matter of great importance. Above Fallen City. When the time was up, a golden light suddenly broke through the sky from afar. Then, a golden warship directly emerged from this golden light. Just this radiance alone was enough to make the soldiers below feel extremely warm and comfortable. Even the fatigue brought on by the past few days gradually improved at this moment. It made people feel as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. It was really the work of a heavenly master. All the soldiers also knelt down in this direction, respectfully welcoming the arrival of the Shang Kingdom celestial masters. If it weren't for the Shang Kingdom celestial masters defending in more dangerous places, perhaps the enemy they would have to face would be even more terrifying. This was all because of the existence of these heavenly masters. Welcome, Heavenly Master. Welcome, Heavenly Master. From this golden warship, an old figure directly walked out. With one step, he soared into the air, and with another step, he arrived in front of Jiang Bai and the others. Everyone, rise. I am the heavenly master of the Country of Fire, Chen Ju. Chen Ju's voice was directly transmitted into the ears of these people. Immediately, his voice continuously reverberated in their ears. It was as though he had directly carved a brand into them. The display of his strength this time around was also quite intimidating. In addition to Chen Ju, there were 2 young disciples accompanying him. These 2 young people looked arrogant between their eyebrows. Their clothes were clean and spotless, and the material was gorgeous and the style was exaggerated. They looked like royalty patrolling such a place. There was also a hint of disdain in their eyes. Even if such a barren place is occupied by the fallen race, it doesn't matter much. That's right. I really don't know why they are still guarding such a place. Jiang Bai and the others were furious. The reason why they were able to conquer the fallen city was because of the sacrifice of countless people. They were able to hold on until now and had the opportunity to launch a counterattack. However, these 2 young men actually called the fallen city a barbarian's land. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox, translated by Xianxia World. Don't talk nonsense. Chen Ju reprimanded, but the expression on his face did not have the slightest intention of relaxing the blame. Jiang Bai and the others saw it, but they did not dare to say anything in their hearts. After all, the person in front of them was the real heavenly master of the Country of Fire. The 2 young people also snorted coldly at each other. Although Master said so, in fact, it was to take into account the heavenly master's face. Otherwise, there would be no need to go through so much trouble. These weak ants actually dared to put on an act in front of them. They could trample them to death in minutes. In fact, it would only take a single step to trample you to death. Let's talk inside. Chen Ju led the 2 disciples into the main hall. Now, the main hall had been renovated, but in fact, it was only a very simple foundation that was built. It looked extremely simple and crude. Tell me, who helped you? Chen Ju sat on the high seat and said indifferently. Jiang Bai and the others looked at each other and clearly felt that there was something wrong with Chen Ju's tone. Why did it feel like he was not here to reward, but to blame? Heavenly Master. Heavenly Master, what do you mean? Jiang Bai was the most familiar with Li Zongjiu and the others. If the Heavenly Master really wanted to blame something, he would definitely not expose Li Zongjiu and the others. Therefore, he took the lead to stand out and test the Heavenly Master's tone. Chapter 13:28. What do you mean? You idiots actually have the cheek to ask my master what he means. Hurry up and hand over that person, otherwise, all of you will die. Next to Chenju, a disciple who looked younger stepped forward and shouted angrily. When they received this news, they were almost driven mad by the stupidity of the people of the Age War realm. They actually dared to claim victory at this time. If they really wanted to destroy the fallen war realm, could it be that their heavenly masters were not strong enough? Why would they need trash like you to take action, causing the current situation to be difficult to resolve? The current stable stalemate could be said to be the result of countless battles between the heavenly masters and the beast god temple. They only needed to maintain this situation for 2 more years. The human race would definitely be able to launch a counterattack. After the Sacred Mountains plan was completed, it would be extremely easy to kill these half-beastmen. They had already endured for 8 years. Could it be that they could not even withstand the last 2 years? What a bunch of idiots. When these words came out, Jiang Bai and the others were also surprised and shocked. They looked at each other. Clearly, they did not understand what these people meant. Shouldn't they be rejoicing over their victory? Looking at the situation in front of them, it seemed that they wanted to find the 2 seniors Li Zongjiu and interrogate them. No, they were clearly here to interrogate them. When the older senior saw the expressions on Jiang Bai and the rest's faces, he gently shook his head. These foolish, uncivilized and unintelligent people were after all limited to this point. Hence, he could not blame them. Immediately, he took a step forward and cleared his throat. There are some things that are difficult for you to understand at your current level. Let me put it this way. Now that the battle between the human race and the fallen race has stabilized, letting the fallen race gain a little advantage can reach the extent of confusing them, making them a little complacent and let their guard down. However, you directly destroyed the fallen war realm today, which will definitely arouse the vigilance of the fallen race and they will counterattack. Next, they will definitely counterattack with all their strength, leaving us with less and less time. Perhaps, the losses caused will be even greater. The Sacred Mountain will have to pay a greater price to make up for the losses caused by your victory. The older man shook his head helplessly. Fortunately, they discovered it in time. If they tried to salvage the situation now, they would at least be able to make it in time. After all, they were here to salvage the situation. However, it was a pity for these people. Presumably, only a few of them would survive. Jiang Bai and the others finally understood. It turned out that the reason why these heavenly masters had not made a move was because they were afraid of angering these people from the Beast God Temple. At that time, if these people from the Beast God Temple retaliated, there would definitely be greater losses and trouble. This was also the real reason why they were unwilling to make a move. What you all are saying is that you'll be able to take advantage of the situation. Do you know how many soldiers and citizens of our 5 nations will die? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Chu Yan stepped forward, his eyes bloodshot and his body trembling as he glared at the people in front of him. Is the great Chu country not enough? Is this what you call a small advantage? Chu Yan Guan's voice trembled. Great Chu state. At the front line of resisting the fallen clan, the first to rise up and counterattack was the Shanghua. Back then, the Great Chu state was at its peak. There were more than 100 Supreme Being experts. These experts were equivalent to the heavenly masters of the Shanghua. However, when the Great Chu state rose up and counterattacked, the other great nations did not help at all. Instead, they watched coldly from the sidelines and fought a bitter battle. The Great Chu state was completely destroyed. Hundreds of heavenly masters, none of them surrendered. However, all of them died in battle. What a heroic act. At the same time, it was equivalent to completely angering the Beast God Temple. From then on, the entire sacred martial realm fell into the flames of war. The Beast God Temple announced an all-out attack. The remaining 5 great nations formed a war zone with each other and created the Sacred Mountain. With the sacred mountain as the leader, they led the remaining people to resist. In fact, if they had joined forces to attack at the same time, they would not have ended up like this. It was because the remaining 5 great nations were afraid of the great Yen state's strength. Therefore, they did not make a move and watched coldly from the sidelines. It was only after the great Yen state was destroyed that they were willing to take action. Only then did they form an alliance and barely resist the beast god temple's attack. However, the world knew very little about the secret of the past. Most of the people only knew that it was because of the great Yen kingdom's resistance that they had the time to form the alliance of great nations. Only then did they have the opportunity to create the sacred mountain. However, they did not know that it was because they were afraid of angering the beast god temple. At the same time, they also wanted to exhaust the strength of the great Yen state. Therefore, they did not form an alliance. If that was the case, it was really despicable and shameless. Jiang Bai and the others did not expect that Chu Yanguan would reveal such a big secret. They did not even know about it before. However, the celestial master in front of them was obviously treating them, the people of small countries, as sacrificial lambs. He even directly treated them as food and deliberately threw them to the fallen race. He used this method to delay the fallen race's attack and give them enough time to make some bullshit preparations. You are a remnant of the great Yen state. Chen Ju glanced at Chu Yanguan. There was not the slightest bit of panic on his face. On the contrary, he was quite angry. If the great Yen state did not betray the sacred martial realm, how could the fallen clan form an attack so quickly? If you did not activate the teleportation array, how could the fallen clan cross the boundary and come here? Chen Ju reprimanded. The crowd could not tell what was going on. It seemed that there was a hidden story behind it. Bullshit! Chu Yanguan roared. He raised the sword in his hand and stabbed at Chen Ju. Obviously, Chu Yanguan would not allow these people to slander the warriors of the great Yen state. You are courting death. Bang! The older disciple directly waved his hand and a blast of energy directly sent Chu Yanguan flying dozens of meters away. Chu Yanguan immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His body fell to the ground with a bang. How dare you challenge the heavenly master with the strength of a mortal? Jiang Bai and the others could no longer hold back when they saw that their comrade was sent flying by the opponent. They all drew their swords and stood up. Jiang Bai's guards also surrounded Chu Yanguan to protect him. You are all from the great nation. Don't you think this is too much? Jiang Bai's eyes were burning with anger. They were simply not treating them as humans. If that was the case, they did not need to rely on the bullshit heavenly master of the great nation. There were many things that could not be clearly explained by one's mouth. A discerning person could naturally see who was right and who was wrong at a glance. Chu Yanguan had led the troops to fight in the Yun nation and had never retreated half a step. However, these so-called heavenly masters of the great nation were nowhere to be found. Now that they had appeared, they actually dared to hurt the comrades that they protected with their lives. Are you delusional enough to challenge the might of the heavenly master? The senior brother took a step forward and released a powerful aura in an instant. It suppressed the crowd to the point that they could not breathe. They even felt that their bodies were about to explode. The junior brother at the side looked at the scene and smiled disdainfully. They were just a bunch of lowly ants. How dare they act so presumptuously in front of them? Just when Jiang Bai and the others were about to collapse, a gentle breeze suddenly blew past and directly extinguished the aura. The senior martial brother was also surprised. Jiang Bai and the others were surprised to find that there was no longer any pressure on their bodies. Instead, they were incomparably relaxed. Moreover, after being suppressed just now, their bodies seemed to have been injected with energy, allowing them to recover directly. Look, I told you. Some people are even more half-beastmen than those half-beastmen. They are practically half-beastmen. A voice rang out outside the hall. Then, two young figures walked in. Senior. Jiang Bai was pleasantly surprised when he saw the newcomers. They were Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran. However, Jiang Bai's expression quickly changed. Senior, leave quickly. They are here to kill you. Chapter 1329. At this moment, Jiang Bai did not think of escaping because of these people. Instead, he quickly reported to Li Zongjiu. After all, Li Zongjiu and the others' actions were the real act of saving the human race. As for these heavenly masters from the heavenly kingdom in front of them, they were simply a group of thieves. They did not even know what kind of ugly dealings they had with the beast god temple. Now, it must be because their cooperation had been destroyed, so they acted like this. Want to leave? The young junior brother directly snorted. He had long wanted to capture these people, but they actually caused so much trouble. A group of mortals who did not understand the sacrifices they had made behind the scenes and only knew how to cause trouble. Such ants, if they were to be trampled to death, so be it. Nonsense. Qi Yanran snorted coldly, flipped her wrist across the air, and slapped toward this junior brother. Bam! This junior brother's body was directly slapped against the wall of the main hall and directly flew out. He did not have the strength to fight back and was easily flattened like a fly. How dare you hurt my junior brother? Immediately, the senior brother was shocked. These people in front of him were actually so bold to cause trouble here and even dare to sneak attack. Kneel! Li Zongjiu directly shouted in a low voice. Immediately, this senior brother's knees directly smashed into the floor with a thud. His whole body also knelt down. And the moment his knees landed, they had already broken both of his legs. It was full of strength and was quite strong. Ah! Immediately, this senior brother also spat out a mouthful of blood. The intense pain from his legs made this senior brother feel for the first time that his bones were broken. Li Zongjiu also deliberately magnified his pain by 10 times, so at this moment, he felt it very clearly. Seeing that Li Zongjiu and the senior brother had actually taken care of the other party's 2 disciples so easily. They were not on the same level at all. In this way, it seemed that Li Zongjiu's strength might be even stronger than this heavenly master of the heavenly kingdom in front of him. Otherwise, this heavenly master from the country of fire would not have allowed his disciple's legs to be broken and his other disciple to be thrown out. Qi Yanran came to Chu Yanguan's side and helped him up. At the same time, he sent a stream of essence force into Chu Yanguan's body to help him recover. To deal with a little girl, they were actually so vicious. These people were obviously not good people. In the beginning, the 2 of them did not rush over directly. Instead, he was observing the situation from afar with his mental power. He waited until Chu Yanguan was injured by the other party before he came over. He wanted to teach the person in front of him a lesson. He was too arrogant and presumptuous. Were you looking for me just now? Li Zongjiu walked to the front and came directly in front of Chenju, as if he did not care if the other party would launch a sneak attack. However, when Chenju saw the movements of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran, he knew that the 2 of them were close to the Supreme Being realm. However, it was obvious that they had not reached the Supreme Being realm and were not enough to make Chenju wary. However, the 2 of them were quite powerful. If he could recruit them, they would definitely be able to increase the strength and glory of the country of fire. He originally thought that it was just 2 reckless Yuan monarchs causing trouble here. However, now it seemed that the battle had changed because of the 2 of them. Moreover, the 2 of them were not weak. If he could recruit them, he could make use of them. I am the heavenly master of the country of fire. Where are the 2 of you cultivating? It could be seen that the 2 of them were still very young. They were even younger than Chenju's 2 disciples. Clearly, there must be a powerful master behind the 2 of them. Perhaps, this was only one of the other party's trials. The other party's master might not be clear about the current chaotic situation, so he asked. You should call me grandpa in front of your ancestors. Li Zongjiu sat down opposite Chenju with a swagger and spoke without any scruples. He did not give Chenju any face at all. He did not even give the country of fire any face. Immediately, Chenju's expression froze. Li Zongjiu was provoking him too much. Did he really want to fight to the death? Jiang Bai and the others did not expect Li Zongjiu to humiliate the other party in public so domineeringly. Young man, you should be careful with your words. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. I am giving your master face this time. Chenju's expression did not change at all. However, anyone could tell that Chenju was not in a good mood. He was also expressionless when he spoke. Oh. Then I will give you face too. After Li Zongjiu finished speaking, he flicked his finger. The head of the senior brother who had been shouting at the side was directly blown off. It exploded into pieces instantly. Everyone present was a veteran of hundreds of battles. Some of them had even been slashed to the bone. What kind of tragic scene had they not seen before? Therefore, when they saw such a scene, they did not feel the slightest bit of shock. In fact, they even felt an incomparably carefree feeling in their hearts. Just now, these people kept calling them ants and mortals. They simply did not treat them as humans. With such disrespect, even if they had great strength, they would not have a good ending. Look, their words came true immediately. You are courting death. Chenju could no longer sit still. A terrifying origin energy erupted from him. His body was burning with flames. Moreover, Chenju's eyes were spewing flames of anger. However, he did not make a move. This was because Chenju was not sure if he was a match for these two people. Moreover, these two people seemed to reveal a trace of strangeness. This made Chenju vigilant in his heart. Although a disciple had died, there was no need to put himself in danger. I will bear with it first. When the time comes, I will find someone to deal with you. Chenju thought in his heart. However, he clenched his fists and put them down again. Are you kidding me? I killed your disciple. You clenched your fists and you are done. Isn't that too perfunctory? What if I kill another one? Immediately, Li Zongjiu made a grabbing motion in the air and grabbed the younger junior fellow apprentice from the pile of ruins. With a whoosh, he landed in front of Li Zongjiu. Qi Yanran's palm strike just now could be considered to have spared his life. However, his injuries could not be healed so quickly. Therefore, after being hit, he was lying on the ground and could not get up for a long time. At this moment, he was also caught in Li Zongjiu's hand. His palm was pressed against the latter's head. Immediately, this junior brother saw his senior brother's corpse. Although his body was in an extremely bad condition, at this moment, he was also frantically twisting his body. Master! Save me! Save me! Immediately, this junior brother also begged his master, hoping that his master would save him. Young man, don't go overboard. If you kill him, the country of fire will definitely not let you. Bam! Li Zongjiu's 5 fingers exerted a little force. It was as if he was crushing an egg, and he directly crushed this person's head. After that, Li Zongjiu also wiped the bloodstains on his hands on his body. What did you just say? Li Zongjiu seemed to have just heard Chenju's words. He asked Chenju with a blank face. A dignified celestial master of the country of fire, 2 of his disciples had died in front of him, but he was indifferent. It was not that he was indifferent, but he did not dare to move at all. Born cowards, you have the nerve to do this? Li Zongjiu could see that these people really did not have any guts at all. When they bullied their own people, they were sonorous and forceful. Once they met a really ruthless person, they did not even dare to fart. Today, I, the dignified celestial master of the country of fire, will definitely let you know how powerful I am. Chenju roared angrily. The aura on his body exploded again, and he directly rushed toward Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was simply too much of a bully. He had killed his disciples in front of everyone and even humiliated him in front of everyone. Even if you are capable, how can I, the dignified celestial master of the country of fire, be frightened by you juniors? Then, he directly circulated his essence force and suddenly struck toward Li Zongjiu's head. In this palm, he had circulated his essence force to the extreme, and it directly condensed into a terrifying force that sealed the space around Li Zongjiu. The crowd could only see that Li Zongjiu seemed to be instantly surrounded by this ball of flames. Immediately, they all exclaimed. Chen Ju also realized that Li Zongjiu could not dodge at all. He was secretly delighted. It turned out that this trash was just bluffing and did not have any real abilities. It was a good opportunity to kill Li Zongjiu and restore his reputation. Boom! When Chen Ju's palm, which was condensed with the fire essence force, hit Li Zongjiu hard, the corners of his mouth could not help but curl up. Next, he just waited for Li Zongjiu to fly out directly. However, Li Zongjiu just stood at the same spot. It could be said that his feet did not move at all. At the same time, he looked at the person in front of him with an extremely shocked expression. Why don't you use your full strength? Chapter 1330. Li Zongjiu stood where he was and used his body to block Chen Ju's palm. From Chen Ju's point of view, Li Zongjiu should have been smashed to pieces by this palm. If not, his body should have been sent flying and he should have been burned to ashes in mid-air. Suddenly, Chen Ju felt that the power that he had injected into Li Zongjiu's body was rapidly returning. Not good. Chen Ju immediately leaped up, wanting to escape towards the back. However, it was too late. The power that Chen Ju had just sent out had circulated in Li Zongjiu's body and returned to Chen Ju's body. Bang! Chen Ju's entire body was sent flying. In mid-air, he spat out a mouthful of blood and his body fell to the ground. Moreover, the power of flames instantly spread across Chen Ju's body. The terrifying burning power caused Chen Ju to be in great pain. Spare my life! Chen Ju's entire body was on fire as he shouted at Li Zongjiu. However, it didn't last long before it was burned to ashes with a boom. The dignified heavenly master of the Shang nation was burned to ashes in front of everyone. When everyone saw this, they were stunned. In their impression, the celestial master of the Shang Empire must be very strong, but today, he died in front of them, right under their noses. However, no one felt sorry for this because in their opinion, these people deserved to die. Previously, they had actually said that they would let these beast men take advantage of them and use the power of a few small countries to fill their stomachs. This way, they would not launch too fierce an attack. There was no need to respect people who did not care about the lives of ordinary people. In the past, I thought that these heavenly masters of the Shang nation had really tried their best. Jiang Bai mocked himself. He did not expect that they had fought so hard at the front line and narrowly escaped death. However, they had only been treated as a buffer. They did not even care about their lives. Chu Yan had already recovered. Everyone, don't give up. There are many people like us who are fighting back with all their might. We can't let these people die in vain. When he said this, Chu Yanguan could not help but shed tears. In fact, Chu Yanguan wasn't the princess of the Chuyun kingdom, but the princess of the Yan kingdom. Just like the other great kingdoms, the strength of the great Yan kingdom back then was definitely second to none. However, it was precisely because the strength of the great Yan kingdom was too strong and too powerful that these people were afraid of it. That was why he hit a man when he was down back then. Even when the great Yan kingdom was besieged, he did not lend a hand. Jiang Bai and the others looked at Chu Yan. The dignified great Yan kingdom was destroyed in one night. All over the country, tens of millions of people were killed. No one survived. In order for Chu Yanguan to survive, the royal family had paid a great price to send Chu Yanguan out. Since then, Chu Yenguan had been on the road of escape. Then he went to the Chuyun kingdom. The Chuyun kingdom and the Great Yan kingdom were old friends. Moreover, the Chuyun kingdom's king clearly knew that the Great Yan kingdom was the real power to resist the half-beastmen back then. As for these people now, they were just a group of cowards who were hiding in their shells. They were not on the same level at all. In order to avenge his father and his country, Chu Yenguan had to fight back. Therefore, Chu Yenguan did not hesitate to join the frontline battle. Even now, the 5 great kingdoms of the Holy Mountain wanted to find the survivors of the Great Yan kingdom and kill them one by one. This way, they could completely control the hearts of the people. It was truly vicious to the extreme. You children, you have swords and sabers in your hands. If you always wait for others to save you, you will die sooner or later. If you want to live, you must not put your hope in others. Li Zongjiu also sighed. Even though he was the evil venerable, when he heard about such a thing, he could only imagine how heroic that scene was. In the end, he actually ended up like this because of jealousy. The human heart was terrifying, it was hard to imagine. Therefore, when the almighty evil lord heard such a thing happen, he was also very moved. Li Zongjiu's words had a little effect on them. Thinking about it carefully, it was indeed so. If they always waited for these people to save them, they would all die sooner or later. We just didn't expect that even these heavenly masters from the great kingdom would be unreliable. Not all of them are like this. Not everyone is like this. There are also some true cultivators who want to save the world, said Chu Yenguan. Chu Yenguan said. Only when you are in pain would you think about how to get yourself out of it. This time, the country of fire will definitely investigate thoroughly after killing the heavenly masters of the country of fire. Seniors, you should leave this place as soon as possible. As for the deaths of these 3 people, we can say that they were killed by the half-beastmen. Jiang Bai and the others were now thinking about how to escape for Li Zongjiu and Chu Yenguan. Li Zongjiu and Chu Yen had already helped them too much. This time, offending the country of fire would definitely cause endless trouble in the future. We won't go anywhere. Since this fallen city has been attacked, where are we going next? Said Qi Yanran. At the same time, there was a very angry look in her eyes. After all, these people were really too much. How could they do such a thing and send these innocent people to their deaths? It was simply embarrassing. If a cultivator could not shoulder their own mission, then what was the use of their abilities? It was not that they should be chivalrous and do good deeds all day long. This was already a matter of life and death for the human race. How could it have nothing to do with them so easily? Let's stay and help them. Qi Yanran looked at Li Zongjiu and said. Li Zongjiu was stunned. Although it was said that Li Zongjiu's nature was freewheeling and he only wanted to help his family and establish a real big family, who would have thought that they would come to such a place? Encountering such a ferocious battle. If they stayed, it would be equivalent to dealing with the beast god temple on one hand and dealing with the group of hypocrites on the holy mountain on the other. Of course, Li Zongjiu was not afraid of either side. However, once he decided to do this, Li Zongjiu would definitely not give up halfway. Qi Yanran also knew that her decision might be a little capricious. However, Qi Yanran also knew that if the 2 of them did not help, perhaps tomorrow, the people in the battle of time would be easily destroyed. The strength of these people was not a joke. Dealing with the people in the battle of time would definitely be an easy task. Li Zongjiu had never liked to be restrained, but this time, Qi Yanran also hoped that Li Zongjiu would agree. Okay. Li Zongjiu said. Qi Yanran's eyes suddenly lit up. How could Jiang Bai and the others not understand at this moment that Li Zongjiu and Chu Guan were willing to stay and help them? What an honor this was. They were finally saved. Don't worry, with me, evil lord, here, these strange things will not be allowed to be presumptuous. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Since they were going to do it, they should really do it. Jiang Bai and the others cheered, and Chu Guan was also very happy. Finally, they were saved. Chapter 1331. This was not a game. Instead, a real battle awaited them. If they failed, tens of millions of lives would be lost. Now, only 5 small countries had joined, but in the future, there would definitely be other forces joining. Li Zongjiu wasn't good at arranging troops and fighting wars. If Wan Yulan was here, she would definitely be able to command these messy troops well. At least, the situation would not be as chaotic as it was now. Li Zongjiu did not care about the arrangement of the battlefield. He just asked Jiang Bai to pay attention. If there were some opponents that he could not deal with, he could directly hand them over to them. The 5 generals of the Battle of Time. Now, they were finally united for a meeting. Even if the generals were to sit together, they still needed to recommend a real leader. As for the countries behind these generals, they were all in charge of the rear and provided supplies. They did not even know that Li Zongjiu had already killed a heavenly master. But after all, the military power was in the hands of these generals, and Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were also quite famous in the army. With just a few words, they would immediately pick up their swords and spears and charge forward to fight. The general recommended by everyone was handed over to Jiang Bai. He would become the leader of the 5 generals. First of all, Jiang Bai and Li Zongjiu were more familiar with each other. Moreover, Jiang Bai's talent was indeed very high. In terms of combat experience, the people present were almost the same. No one had ever been a coward. In this case, the opportunity naturally fell on Jiang Bai, who was twice as young as him. As for Chu Yanguan, with his ability to lead troops, he was still much worse than Jiang Bai. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran went to arrange a large array for the fallen city. In the next period of time, they must use the fallen city as a base to launch a thorough counterattack. When the Battle of Time began to counterattack, the pressure on the other Battle of Time would naturally be reduced by a lot. The rest of the people would certainly be able to feel the changes on the battlefield and automatically unite. There was no need for these people from the Heavenly Master to take action. They could handle these things themselves. Now, Fallen City has a total of 600,000 soldiers from 5 countries. Today, we have taken down the Fallen City. The Beast God Temple will definitely send people to attack us. Our goal in this 1 month is to defend the city. General Luo, I need your troops to investigate the garrison. The intelligence of the garrison will be handed over to your Wind Country's army. Country of Wind, General Luo Yong. Luo Yong accepts the order. Leave it to me. General Chu, the enemy will definitely attack fiercely. I estimate that the battle will last for more than a month. Our reserves won't be able to last that long. Within 3 days after the battle, I want to find their headquarters. Jiang Bai said to Chu Yan. Although Chu Yanguan was the princess of the Great Yan Kingdom, her current identity was that of a general of the Yun Kingdom. Since he was personally leading the troops, he had to obey his orders. Chu Yan accepts the order. In addition, the archers of the Moon Nation and the troops of the Water Nation are to immediately start building defensive fortifications and traps. When the war starts, the troops of my country will be the vanguard. A series of arrangements showed Jiang Bai's talent in commanding. He had arranged the troops of the 5 nations in an orderly manner. As for the top experts of the enemy, there was no need to worry about them. With the formation set up by Li Zongjiu, the enemy would only die no matter how many came. There was no need to worry at all. In the sky above the fallen city, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran had finished setting up the formation. Qi Yanran came to Li Zongjiu's side. You won't blame me, right? Am I too capricious? Qi Yanran was worried that Li Zongjiu would be angry because this decision was very immature. Although the 2 of them were very strong and could even roam freely in the Holy Martial Continent, they were basically invincible in the world. However, This was the Holy Martial Realm, and there were no less than 6 experts in the Holy Martial Realm. There would even be more experts, and this number could only be increased. Qi Yanran's decision would undoubtedly put the two of them in a dangerous situation. Silly girl, as long as I'm here, I won't let you make a mistake. Li Zongjiu took Qi Yanran in his arms. There was no need to say anything more. Li Zongjiu would certainly give his full support to his woman's decision. Even if it was wrong, he would fight until everyone in the world said that it was right. If anyone disagreed, then he would kill them all. This was the style of the evil lord. He would do whatever he wanted. What's more, Qi Yanran now said that she would stay and save these people. Someone had to come and save them, right? Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were such people. There was always someone who had to carry the burden forward. Since Qi Yanran had decided to be such a person, Li Zongjiu would have to carry all the burden. Fallen City had been preparing for half a month. During this half a month, it was calm and peaceful. It was worth mentioning that when the king of the country of wind found out that the people of Fallen City had killed a heavenly master, he actually ordered the troops of the country of wind to retreat and return to his own headquarters. Obviously, he wanted to get rid of this matter. But General Luo Yong of the country of wind. It took him 2 days to return to the country of wind and directly cut off the head of the king of wind. He was greedy for life and afraid of death. It was the existence of such a person that hindered the development of many things. It was already such a chaotic world, but he was still so timid. Luo Yong's country of wind also directly gained great support from the people. As for the rich and the country gentry and the like, he didn't put them in his eyes at all. Jiang Bai and the others also admired Luo Yong's behavior. These people were thinking of ways to fight here with their lives on the front line, helping you think of ways to resist the danger. But this group of trash only thought about how to protect themselves all day long. Wouldn't they kill you in minutes? The glorious battle results of the Battle of Time had also spread to the ears of the Holy Mountain. A mere Battle of Time actually dared to challenge the authority of the Holy Mountain, especially when it was said that a troublesome guy called Evil Lord had appeared recently. For such troublemakers, it was necessary to take them down quickly and ruthlessly. Let them know how powerful they were. But now it seemed that they didn't need to do anything. Because the Beast God Temple had already sent out a powerful army. It was called the Plague Army. The Plague Army, a fierce army of 7 million half-beastmen, was now pressing on the border. His only thought was to conquer the War of Time realm. His only thought was to conquer the War of Time realm. Even the Holy Mountain had sent people to negotiate, but they were directly beaten back. The Fallen City would never let such a thing happen. They couldn't give these humans any hope. Country of Fire. The capital. The flames of war were swirling in the outside world, but the Country of Fire was peaceful and magnificent. Even the surrounding buildings were quite perfect, and the people living here were also quite extravagant. In the palace, there were already many officials who wanted to completely wipe out the Battle of Time. These people actually dared to kill the heavenly masters they sent out. They were simply lawless. If it weren't for the fact that the Country of Fire had provided so many weapons to the other countries, they actually repaid kindness with enmity. They were simply a group of ingrates. Every day during the court assembly, there would be a quarrel over this matter. Your Majesty, this is a good opportunity to send troops. As long as we protect the Fallen City and destroy the Plague Army, the dignity of the Fallen City will no longer exist. Our human race will definitely be able to revive. We can't let these Fallen City people succeed, said a minister. This group of barbarians in the Battle of Time killed our heavenly masters, and you still want to send troops to help them? Are you stupid? In my opinion, Your Majesty, we should immediately take down the kings of the 5 countries in the Battle of Time and behead them in public to show our country's prestige. Someone directly stood up and said angrily. Sun Gongbao, you're really capable. You don't dare to kill so many half-orcs, but you're awe-inspiring after killing a few human compatriots. High Duke Xiao, I'm doing this for the sake of the country of fire. As for the half-beastmen, what's there to be afraid of? Wherever the great Yen cavalry passes, we'll definitely slaughter all the fallen half-beastmen. That's that. I'm talking about Heavenly Master Qinju now. Sun Gongbao was also a cunning person. He casually rounded things up and quickly turned the sharp spearhead around. Alright, the two of you stop quarreling. The king of Great Yen had finally spoken. If he still didn't speak up, the court assembly would probably become a war of words again. The matter of the Battle of Time will naturally be passed down after the people of the Heavenly Master Association have discussed it. Other than that, if there's nothing else, the court assembly will be dismissed. I'm tired, said the king of Great Yen. A little eunuch beside him immediately shouted. Court assembly is dismissed. Minister Zhao's face was also filled with anxiety. The fallen city had already sent troops. If they still didn't act, it would be too late. This clearly meant that they didn't want to send troops. Chapter 1332. Li Zongjiu's nickname, Evil Lord. It had already spread out in the fallen city. Now everyone knew that this mysterious senior was called Evil Lord. It didn't matter what his real name was, as long as they knew that it was Evil Lord who saved them. At the same time, the glorious achievements of the Great Yen Kingdom had gradually spread out and made people familiar with them. They all knew that the Great Yen Kingdom was the real warrior. To be able to fight alongside such a person would be an incomparably glorious thing. Although there were only 600,000 troops stationed there. Later, the 5 countries pooled together again and made the garrison up to 800,000 troops. The 800,000 troops were stationed in the fallen city. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran came to the city wall. The soldiers of the 5 countries knew that it was because of these 2 people that their homeland was saved, so they were also incomparably respectful to Evil Lord. And this Evil Lord's wife. This time, the Beast God Temple sent out the so-called Plague Army. They have at least 7 million troops, and possibly 8 million troops. Jiang Bai reported on the city wall. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran had arranged a lot of formations around the city. At the same time, they had also refined some elixirs in the past 2 days. Then, they mixed the elixirs into the water and let the soldiers drink it. As a result, these soldiers who had never eaten elixirs had a great improvement rapidly. Each of them had at least 2 to 3 levels of breakthrough. It directly increased the combat strength of all the soldiers by 2 times. Even Jiang Bai and the others had a small breakthrough. If 1 or 2 people had a breakthrough, it would only have a small effect. But when 800,000 soldiers had a breakthrough at the same time, one could imagine how terrifying the effect would be. Who could imagine such a situation? When they were stacked together, it would also be an extremely terrifying effect. Among them, there are more than 20 generals of the primitive emperor realm. Jiang Bai said. The strongest one is the Plague Army General. This person is also the leader of the Plague Army, and the life snatchers under his command are all fierce. Jiang Bai said and then looked at Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran. He wanted to see what the 2 of them thought about the current situation. What kind of bullshit names are these? Did you guys give it that name? Who knew that Li Zongjiu would directly say such a sentence, as if he had grasped the main point of the word plague? Was such a name more frightening? No, they announced it themselves. Jiang Bai said. Although the fallen race were all half-beastmen, the higher their strength, the closer they were to humans. These fallen race even believed that they must replace the weak human race, and that they themselves were the true superior race. His strength was the strongest, and he had nothing to fear. Alright, these people are definitely not well educated. Li Zongjiu said. Other than the Plague General, there is also the Death General, who is stronger than the Plague General. Chu Yen said. Back then, these two people were defeated by my father. At this point, Chu Yenguan's mouth could not help but curl up into a proud smile. His father's achievements back then were also incomparably glorious. If it wasn't for the great Yan kingdom's full strength, how could the current situation be like this? The Beast God Temple was worried that the other countries had similar strength to the great Yan kingdom. If all of them were so fierce, the Beast God Temple wouldn't be able to hold on. Moreover, the Beast God Temple also needed time. To repair the teleportation formation, the subsequent battles gradually slowed down. Compared to the other countries, it was still an era of peace, but this was all in exchange for the lives of the experts of the great Yan kingdom. This battle is also for the heroic spirits of the great Yan kingdom. Jiang Bai and the others learned about the great Yan kingdom's achievements from Chu Yenguan. They also knew about the contributions made by the great Yan kingdom, and they were really impressed. In the beginning, the Beast God Temple had a troop called Tian Sha. These two people are only at the bottom of the Tian Sha. Chu Yenguan said. Tian Sha. Li Zongjiu heard the name and guessed that it must have some background. The Tian Sha are all supreme being experts. Our great Yan kingdom was destroyed by the Tian Sha. Of course, the Tian Sha was also severely injured in that battle. Oh, that means the Tian Sha is their main strength. As long as we destroy the Tian Sha, we will also break their teeth. Li Zongjiu nodded and said. He exchanged a look with Qi Yanran. Obviously, he meant that when he had the time, he would directly destroy this thing called Tian Sha. If that was the case, there were indeed many experts in the Beast God Temple. The Dark Hall had two major organizations. Now, the Beast God Temple actually had a Tian Sha. Generally speaking, such an organization would also have seats for elders and deacons, and the number should be about half of the Tian Sha. If the strength of the Tian Sha was amplified by 5 times, it would be the strength of the Beast God Temple. A single Tian Sha was able to destroy the great Yan kingdom. If all the big countries had joined forces, they might not have lost. Li Zongjiu also shared his analysis. In fact, the human race did have the strength. But who knew that they would be involved in such a situation? It simply made people feel helpless, and even infuriated. These people were too disappointing. Hearing Li Zongjiu's analysis, everyone gnashed their teeth in hatred. These people, one day, Jiang Bai, will wring their heads off. Jiang Bai had a bad temper. He was simply angered to death by these people. The rest of the people felt the same. Destroying the Tian Sha was easy to say. The great Yan kingdom had hundreds of supreme being experts, but they could only severely injure the Tian Sha. From this, one could see the strength of the Tian Sha. It's coming. Qi Yanran said. There was a blue bird flying back quickly. In the blink of an eye, it landed on Qi Yanran's shoulder. When Chu Yan saw Qi Yanran's bird, he was very curious. Where did this bird come from? And it seemed to be very smart. When Qi Yanran's voice faded away, the entire fallen city shook violently. Rumble. Even the walls were on the verge of shattering from the vibrations. Everyone could not help but clench the weapons in their hands, staring at the situation in front of them. Finally, a black mass appeared, like a black tsunami. At a glance, it was boundless and endless. Countless giant beasts of the fallen race also appeared at this moment. The gluttony at the forefront. The destructive behemoth was pulling a destructive war chariot that weighed hundreds of tons. The bladed beasts were covered with sharp horns all over their bodies. With a slight touch, the city would be easily broken into 2 halves. In front of such a lineup, no one could resist at all. It was really too terrifying. Is this the plague army? Some of the soldiers on the city wall could clearly feel that there were mountains crushing down on them one after another. They were about to fall on them and crush them into pieces. Under such circumstances, they could not breathe at all. So scary. In comparison, the human race was simply too insignificant. They weren't even enough to be stepped on by the troops in front of them. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran's eyes were slightly solemn. Because there were so many people in front of them, they did not know if it would work or not. They were also looking forward to the effect of this array. Attack! General Pestilence, who was hiding behind the army, stood on the head of a giant beast and looked down on the fallen city, which looked as fragile as a pile of tofu. Immediately, the Plague Army began to madly rush toward fallen city. As for Plague General and Death General, they were chatting freely at the back of the army. Have you heard? A few days ago, that idiot from the Assassination Palace, Xuemie from the Flying Scales Troop, returned to his own Assassination Palace and started to kill people crazily. Then, he self-detonated and killed their own manager. Plague General said. There is such a thing. The content is very interesting. The Death General was a young man with a pale face. His face looked like it was covered with flour, but you couldn't dig out the flour. The Sky Fiend and the Dark Hall were the two major components of the Beast God Temple. Above the two major organizations were the Elders. Although Plague General and Death General were at the bottom of the hierarchy in the Sky Fiend, it was not a big deal to talk about something like Xuemie. Most importantly, this matter was too exciting. No one thought that these people could do such a thing. It was really amazing. How could this be? Are they being controlled by someone? It is possible. But I also heard that Xuemie and the others might have encountered an array master. That is why they are in such a situation. Array master? Aren't those things all dead? Death General said in surprise. Just as Death General's voice fell, there was a loud bang on the ground in front of them. It was as if a fireball had fallen from the sky. More than a dozen huge flaming birds appeared in the air. At the same time, they spat out extremely fierce flames. Moreover, the Plague Army's footsteps became extremely slow. Their movements were extremely slow, as if they had stepped into a deep quagmire. Chapter 1333. In just a few minutes, the Plague Army suffered heavy casualties. Before these half-beastmen could see what was going on, they were dragged to the ground as if they had been grabbed by a water ghost. They couldn't move at all. Then, a series of attacks fell from the sky. The terrifying flames instantly burned the half-beastmen to ashes. Boom! Boom! The power of the flames instantly attacked. In the blink of an eye, the Plague Army was engulfed by the flames. The scene in front of them was indescribable. When Jiang Bai and the rest saw this scene from the top of the city wall, their hearts were filled with shock. Everywhere their eyes passed, flames would burn. Moreover, the power of the flames was quite strong. The half-beastman army was unable to resist for long before they were turned into ashes. There were at least 800,000 soldiers who rushed up, and these 800,000 soldiers were specially used to attack the city. At this moment, more than half of them were engulfed in the sea of flames. Array! The expressions of the Death General and the Plague General changed. Array formations were the most troublesome thing for them. When they fought with array masters in the past, they sent a large number of assassins to assassinate the array masters. Only then did they manage to kill more than half of the array masters, and the rest didn't dare to appear again. Now, such a powerful array had appeared. There must be an array master behind it. Interesting. Second Legion, charge. General Pestilence sneered. Although the formation was powerful, its power was limited. Moreover, there would always be loopholes in its operation speed. With so many soldiers rushing forward, they would be able to reach the city walls by stepping on the corpses in front of them. As long as they reached the city wall, they could kill their way into the city and destroy it. It wouldn't be a problem at all. Furthermore, this formation of yours isn't limitless. There will be a day when it will be exhausted, and there will also be a day when it will be broken. This was because they were rather clumsy when it came to this array formation, and they had no idea how to break it. More tremors came, and then the endless orc army rushed up again. Rumble. There was another series of tremors. When the soldiers on the city wall saw the orcs swarming over, they were shocked again. However, there was an array set up by Evil Lord. These orcs couldn't rush to the front. What a powerful array! When the second legion was about to be completely annihilated, they still couldn't even touch the wall. This time, General Pestilence was completely shocked. After all, at least 1.5 million soldiers were killed in these two legions. Just like that, they were sacrificed heroically. They didn't even have the time to touch the enemy's walls. Such a scene was quite terrifying in their eyes. Damn it! Send out all the Yuan King level legions and kill them. I don't believe that we can't break these arrays. At this moment, in front of the fallen city, there were no other traces except for many deep pits. The orc soldiers in front of them were directly burned, and not even a trace of smell was left. It was very shocking that this array was so simple. If this array was careless, it would directly burn its own people to death. Wouldn't it be quite dangerous? However, at least these enemies were burned to death. They were suddenly excited. There were 4 city walls in the fallen city. The Plague General didn't care about them. He directly mobilized all the orc soldiers and attacked from all directions at the same time. Rumble. Originally, General Pestilence thought that Li Zongjio and the others were only able to set up such a trap in this place. How could he have known that the entire fallen city was covered by this formation? Li Zongjio and the others' cultivation of array was not simple. At this moment, it was quite brilliant and dazzling. The half-beastmen in front of him were burned to the point that they didn't have the slightest bit of temper. Because of the formation, the half-beastmen had no way to eat it. At the very most, the strength of the frontmost troops was considered to be quite good. However, these people were still annihilated before they could reach the city gate. If they were not mistaken, the troops that wanted to launch a surprise attack just now were all Yuan King level cultivators. But who knew that he would lose his life in such a situation? Under the protection of these people, a figure finally touched the city wall of the fallen city with his finger. Then, he disappeared directly and was burned to ashes by the Nirvana Sky Fire Array. Seems like this array is quite effective. Li Zongjio also didn't expect this array to be so useful. Qi Yanran was also very happy. Being able to set up an effective array was a very exciting thing for her. At least it proved that Qi Yanran's inheritance was quite useful. In fact, the array had already shown its power when they were in Sui Shan City. However, Li Zongjio and the others didn't know that if it wasn't for the existence of this defensive array, the entire Sui Shan City would have been wiped out. Let's go and capture those 2 guys. Let's go. Li Zongjio said. Since the city was fine, Li Zongjio decided to capture the other side's leader first. Moreover, Li Zongjio had heard that this fellow was a Heaven Sha, so he wanted to know what a Heaven Sha was. Although these 2 people were at the bottom of the sky demons, they should more or less know some of the secrets of the sky demons. Okay. Then, Qi Yanran followed Li Zongjio and left the fallen city. Although Jiang Bai and the others were nervous, they were confident in Li Zongjio and Li Zongjio. At least, they should be able to put up a fight against the 2 of them. If they could not defeat them, they could escape and at least buy some time in this formation. After the other party lost nearly 3 million orcs, they completely gave up the attack. At this moment, even if they continued to attack, it might not be effective. Instead of sacrificing in vain, it was better to stabilize the situation first. Just when the Plague General and the Death General were discussing countermeasures, suddenly, they saw 2 figures flying directly out of the fallen city. Moreover, the orcs below were very excited. They couldn't wait to rush into the sky and capture the 2 people. Immediately, the 2 people's eyes lit up. They were just discussing how to attack the city, but now, there were two people rushing out and falling into the trap. Obviously, these people were indeed too confident. They thought that with a little array, they could be invincible. They didn't even put the two people in their eyes. Usually, if this was the case, big trouble would happen. Huh, did you see that? These humans are often so arrogant. Two of them came, one for each of us. Don't kill them, I want to catch them and interrogate them. The Plague General said. Don't worry, none of them can escape. I'm still very confident in dealing with these two weak humans. The Death General smiled cruelly. When he laughed, the corners of his mouth stretched all the way to his ears, and a long white bone blade appeared in his hand. He leaped directly toward Qi Yanran to kill her. Little girl, I'll let you taste my treasured knife. Qi Yanran's eyes flashed with a cold light. Leave him to me. Qi Yanran said. Just beat them until they are disabled. I want to read their memories. Li Zongjiu said. When the time came, he could combine the two people's memories to accurately find the information about the sky demons. Naturally, the more comprehensive the better. All right. Qi Yanran said. The desolate heaven essence in her hand suddenly surged out and wrapped around the Death General's body. The Death General's bone knife suddenly slashed at the desolate heaven essence. However, with a clang, the saber in his hand broke into two halves. What? The Death General had killed countless human experts, but he had never encountered such a situation. The knife in his hand had cut off the heads of countless human experts, but now it was broken. What's going on? The next moment, Qi Yanran grabbed the Death General and threw him to the ground. Pang! He smashed a big hole in the ground. Suddenly, the scene was filled with sand and stones. It was extremely heroic. The Plague General frowned because in his opinion, the Death General seemed to be playing a game with the other party. That was why he was in such a sorry state and did not treat the enemy seriously. He needed to be properly criticized. Die. The Plague General held a large steel fork in his hand. There was a poisonous snake coiling around the steel fork. The snake had a total of 3 heads, and the 3 heads immediately coiled around the sharp point of the steel fork. Swoosh! As the steel fork was waved, the poisonous snake bit at Li Zongjiu's neck. The unparalleled sword appeared in his hand. The blazing sword aura directly cut off the head of the poisonous snake. Crash! What? Chapter 1334. The unparalleled sword instantly slashed towards the opponent. However, the Plague General was not weak either. He was probably a second-grade supreme martial artist. Although his strength was not bad, it was still not enough in front of Li Zongjiu. Clang! 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 The battle between the 4 experts instantly caused extremely terrifying fluctuations. The destruction caused by the battle was even more powerful than the formation just now. The Beastman army below was also in a state of confusion. You guys can fight if you want, but why do you have to slash at the square formation below from time to time? Don't go overboard, okay? Another large number of casualties. Especially Li Zongjiu, in such a battle, also completely unleashed his nature. The unparalleled sword in his hand seemed to turn into a sea of fire when he waved it. As it spun around him, the sea of fire also surged instantly. It was enough to see such a situation. Rumble. Another army was almost completely wiped out by Li Zongjiu's sword aura. Seeing this scene, the Plague General could no longer hold back. You're courting death. Today, I'll definitely destroy you. These subordinates were trained by him, and more or less, they were existences that could help him establish his position. Therefore, in terms of numbers, he naturally could not lose too many of them. If he lost them directly, he would become a commander. At that time, wouldn't he become a general without an army? If he lost his power in the beast god temple, it would be a very terrifying thing. If he was careless, someone would directly devour him, the kind that wouldn't even spit out his bones. In order to protect his troops, the pestilence general finally revealed his trump card. Transform. Boom. Suddenly, a large cloud of poisonous gas gushed out from the ground. In this huge cloud of poisonous gas, a fierce force could be seen constantly being released. Then, a three-headed giant python that was about 30 meters in size appeared on the spot. So it's a snake. I was wondering why it was so weird. Li Zhongjiu stood in the air. He was waiting for these people to transform. Before they transformed, these people's strength was simply not enough to be looked at. After they transformed, their strength increased by at least 5 grades. It was equivalent to a 7th grade supreme martial artist. Even the weakest of them are able to reach rank 7 utmost exalted, or even rank 8 utmost exalted. Li Zhongjiu was shocked when he saw the aura released by the plague general. It seemed that this sky fiend was very difficult to deal with. However, this also showed how terrifying the strength of the Great Yan Empire was. Otherwise, the people of the 5 nations of the Holy Mountain wouldn't be so afraid of it. These people might have secretly cooperated with the beast men. The other battlefield also shook violently. Then, a terrifying aura was released. It was also close to the aura of a 6th grade sovereign. When he took a closer look, it turned out to be a giant scorpion. A nest of snakes and scorpions. You people are already so ugly, yet you still want to grow so big. Li Zhongjiu could not help but shake his head. Aren't you here to scare people? You're really too shameless. If it was someone with a lower mental state, they would probably vomit after seeing your attitude. You're about to die, yet you still talk so much nonsense. Give me your life. The plague general roared and directly leaped toward Li Zhongjiu. At the same time, a black poisonous light was brewing in his mouth, ready to be shot out at any time. When Jiang Bai, Chu Yan, and the others on the city wall saw this, they were especially worried. Because once these people transformed, their strength would definitely increase greatly. Just now, when they were dealing with the situation before the transformation, they only had a slight advantage. Now that the other party had completely transformed, wouldn't they become even more terrifying? The answer was soon revealed. Li Zhongjiu gently waved the unparalleled sword in his hand twice and cut off the 2 heads of the poisonous snake. Only the middle head was left. Then, he landed on the ground. He cut off the tail with a sword. Li Zhongjiu's figure disappeared again. When he reappeared, he was already behind the plague general. He stabbed in and directly cut off the plague general's spine. Bang! The few bones were directly cut off by Li Zhongjiu. Obviously, he had transformed, but why was he still so weak? Even compared to his previous strength, it seemed that he was no match for Li Zhongjiu. After transforming, he directly fell to the ground in just 5 seconds. After crushing a large number of half-beastmen soldiers, the remaining half-beastmen soldiers quickly retreated. Even their commander had been defeated. What was the point of fighting then? Run, the general is dead. Although the half-beastmen looked stupid and naive, they were actually very clever. Once they saw that the situation was bad, they would immediately start to run. When they ran, they didn't have any emotions at all. Even if the commander had fallen straight down in front of him, he would never reach out to help him up. It would be better for him to escape first. Otherwise, wouldn't it delay their escape? On the other side, the scorpion demon was directly thrown to the ground by Qi Yanran in less than 7 seconds. He even almost spat out his internal organs. The main thing was that when he fell to the ground, he was accidentally stung by his own tail. Fortunately, he had some resistance to poison. Otherwise, he would have died in an instant from that attack. Bang! The Death General was also directly put to the ground. When the people in the fallen city saw this scene, they couldn't believe their eyes at all. They looked at each other. They felt that the couple just now was acting in front of hundreds of thousands of people. They could have killed them directly, but now they wanted to let them show off first, and then kill them. It really felt a little murderous. This made the two generals of the fallen race suffer a great blow. They felt as if they were in a dream. While they were dreaming, they were put on a handcart and pulled into the fallen city. Then, all their limbs were cut off and tied up by dozens of chains. They were captured. When the plague general opened his eyes, this was his first thought. But there was good news. That was, the death general beside him was also captured. At least he had a companion. The half-orc army outside the city had long been defeated. Jiang Bai also opened the city gate and hunted down some of them. He also killed a lot. But at the same time, what they didn't expect was that because of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran, none of the previous battle plans were used. The rest of the half-orc army also scattered and fled. Jiang Bai and the others also had work to do. There would always be some people with poor directions who would run into some blind alleys, waiting for Jiang Bai and the others to encircle and annihilate them. Anyone who escaped into the alleyway would not be able to escape. At least half of the hundreds of thousands of soldiers left the city. The remaining half also cleaned up the battlefield. 0 casualties. They defeated the fallen city's plague army. Such a glorious record made everyone feel incredible. Chapter 1335. Li Zongjiu directly used his mind power to extract the memories of the two of them. Then, he quickly read through them. Indeed, with the identities of these two people, he was able to come into contact with some more secretive things. Even from the memories of these two people, Li Zongjiu also knew that the destruction of the Great Yan Empire back then was due to the secret collusion of some people with the Great Yan Empire. That was why the Yan Kingdom was destroyed. It was truly a very heroic tragedy. Even when such a thing happened, it had already exposed the despicable nature of these people. Now, these people were clearly nurturing a tiger. In fact, it was no longer nurturing a tiger, but there was no way to contain it. The strength of the fallen race was something they had never expected. Therefore, now the 5 nations of the Holy Mountain were also looking for a way to seal these half-beastmen back. But how could there be such a good thing? More than half of the Beast God Temple's teleportation was already done. It was also because of the Beast God Temple that most of the experts were restrained, and the rest were unable to free themselves, which gave the 5 nations of the Holy Mountain a chance. Just like when the Beast God Temple was completely teleported over. The fall of the Holy Martial Realm was just a snap of the fingers. It was too easy for the other party to do this. However, these people were still like a bunch of idiots. They were still hiding under the protection of the Holy Mountains formation, cultivating there and enjoying the fruits of their labor. They seemed to still be immersed in the excitement of destroying the Yan Kingdom. After all, they had been shrouded in the shadow of the Yan Kingdom for hundreds of years. Now that they had finally destroyed the Yan Kingdom, they naturally had to celebrate. 108 members of the Tian Sha group. Li Zongjiu was also sorting out the most important information, which was also the information that Li Zongjiu cared about. Just the heaven emanations alone had a total of 108 people. However, during the battle with the Great Yan Kingdom, they had lost 68 people. Now, there were only 40 people left, and the top 10 of them were all still alive. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran killed 2 of them. There were still 38 people left. At this moment, the Tian Sha group had 38 members. There were 5 Tian Sha experts in the Absolute Saint realm. Li Zongjiu opened his eyes, and there was a serious look in his eyes. 5 saints. This was the most deadly existence. Li Zongjiu had experience fighting against absolute saints as well. He had fought against the heavenly demon tribe. That guy was equivalent to an absolute saint. Just the heavenly monster tribe was enough to make Li Zongjiu flee to this place. As a result, Li Zhongjiu could imagine how terrifying it would be if 5 absolute saints were to descend upon him. Apart from them, there were also at least 6 people from the Dark Hall. 2 palace lords and 4 vice-palace lords must all be absolute saints. Just by casually adding it up, it was a total of 11. Let's not talk about those elders who were tinkering with the teleportation array. If the 11 of them were to join forces, even that person from the sacred mountain wouldn't be able to resist them. No wonder he had been hiding in the array and refused to come out. If he came out, any one of them would be found and killed in a matter of minutes. I can't take it anymore. If I don't break through to the absolute saint realm, I'll be finished. In Li Zhongjiu's heart, there was a sense of urgency. After this attack, the members of the Sky Demon tribe would definitely notice. If he couldn't break through to the absolute saint realm, he would definitely die the next time he faced an attack from the Sky Demon tribe. If he still had the Chaos Yuan Bell, he might be able to fight. But now, even if he had the unparalleled sword, at most, he could barely protect himself in the hands of an absolute saint. Looks like I have to prepare in advance. Li Zhongjiu thought to himself. Li Zhongjiu didn't have any means to deal with an absolute saint, so he had to prepare well. My body should be able to withstand the pill now. After Li Zhongjiu stripped the soul power of the 2 men, they died completely. It was just a broken body. Li Zhongjiu then told Qi Yanran about his discovery. Qi Yanran frowned as she listened. She didn't expect the strength of these people to be so terrifying. It was even more terrifying than she had imagined. With my current strength, I can fight against an absolute saint if I use my full strength. Qi Yanran said. You're already so powerful. Li Zhongjiu looked at Qi Yanran in surprise. I've mastered the Blue Bird platform recently, so I can exert more power. It shouldn't be a problem. But if 2 people come at once, I can't. Qi Yanran shook her head. If the enemy really did send 2 absolute saints over, it would be the end of the line for them. Looks like we have to let them retreat now. It'll be very dangerous if they continue to stay here. Li Zhongjiu said. Qi Yanran nodded. She understood what Li Zhongjiu meant. More than 80,000 soldiers might not be able to do much even if they stayed here. If Qi Yanran and Li Zhongjiu were defeated, none of them would be able to survive. Wait for the Saint Immortals of the Sacred Mountain to attack. That wasn't Li Zhongjiu's style. They had to control their own lives, even if the road ahead was very difficult. They had to walk on their own and could not place their hopes on others. Li Zhongjiu called Jiang Bai and the others to the front of the main hall. At this moment, Jiang Bai and the others were still happy. After all, this battle was indeed very satisfying. They had never seen such a victory before. It made them feel very amazed and couldn't calm down for a long time. Senior Evil Lord, what's wrong? Jiang Bai and the others looked at Li Zhongjiu and Qi Yanran's expressions. They didn't seem to be very relaxed. They also realized that something worse might happen. We cannot stay in this place for long. Today's battle has damaged their core. Soon, they will definitely dispatch even more powerful individuals. At that time, even Yanran and I may not be able to block them. Therefore, all of you need to leave this place. Lin Dong's eyes widened as he spoke. Li Zhongjiu said. Leave? They had just won a battle and now they had to leave. It was too hard for them to react. However, if even Li Zhongjiu and Qi Yanran couldn't deal with them, how terrifying would they be? Obviously, Li Zhongjiu and Qi Yanran didn't want to have more casualties here. If an expert of that level were to appear, they would indeed be reduced to cannon fodder. In fact, they might even be inferior to cannon fodder. They would be killed before the expert could even see them. How could they be considered cannon fodder? Let's go back home after we eat. Li Zhongjiu said. What about Senior Evil Lord? Aren't we leaving together? As long as we go to the Sacred Mountain, they won't dare to pursue us. Jiang Bai quickly said. Judging from Li Zhongzhou's words, it seemed that they were going to stay here. Although we might not be able to defeat them, it doesn't mean that we can't. I'm the dignified evil lord. How could I run away without a fight? Don't worry. If Yanran and I want to leave, no one in the sacred martial realm can stop us. Speaking up to this point, Li Zhongzhou was filled with pride. Chapter 1336. Indeed, for Li Zhongzhou to say such words, he definitely had the ability to do so. With the combined strength of Li Zhongzhou and Qi Yanran, they could defeat Li Zhongzhou. Only if 3 saints joined forces would they be able to do so. And it was the kind of sneak attack. Otherwise, Li Zhongzhou would have a way to escape. Since Li Zhongzhou had made it sound so serious. And Jiang Bai also knew. Li Zhongzhou and the others were worried about the lives of these ordinary soldiers, so they asked the soldiers to retreat first. After that, Jiang Bai and the others did not want to affect Li Zhongzhou and Qi Yanran. After all, it would be very troublesome if they had to take so many people's lives into consideration. Therefore, Jiang Bai was very tactful and asked all the troops to retreat immediately. Although these soldiers did not understand why they did not immediately kill their way out when it was such a good opportunity. But military orders were unshakable. The soldiers of the 5 nations all retreated. But Jiang Bai and Chu Yanguan chose to stay. Jiang Bai wanted to repay Li Zhongzhou for saving her life. After all, Jiang Bai had troubled Li Zhongzhou a lot during this period of time. Jiang Bai couldn't believe that Li Zhongzhou had helped her. At least under such circumstances, Li Zhongzhou was willing to help, which was a great favor to Jiang Bai and the others. Someone needed to thank him for this favor. Jiang Bai needed to use his life to thank Li Zhongzhou. To be able to save so many people, Jiang Bai could die without regrets. Even if he returned to the city now, he might not be able to save the lives of the people in the city. Since he would die anyway, Jiang Bai naturally chose to stay by Li Zhongzhou and Qi Yanran's side. Even if he could not participate in the battle, at least he could do something for the 2 of them. This was what Jiang Bai wanted. As for Chu Yanguan. Chu Yanguan was already a dead man. To be able to live until now, and even tell the secret of the past, and let the world know that the Chu Yanguan's hometown, the contributions that the great Chu had made to the people, was already enough of a consolation. In this life, he could be considered to have no more worries. Moreover, Chu Yanguan was now regarded as Qi Yanran's nominal disciple. Although he wasn't an official disciple yet. However, Chu Yanguan was determined to cultivate with Qi Yanran. Live and die together. There were also some veterans who chose to stay behind. Most of them were personal guards. They had been protecting Chu Yan or Jiang Bai for many years. He knew that the choice of these 2 people would definitely not be wrong. Li Zhongzhou and Qi Yanran did not ask these people to stay. After all, they had already explained the situation clearly to these people. There was no need to continue the stalemate. If you don't want to leave, do I have to drag you away? Since these people chose to stay, Li Zhongzhou also wrote a prescription and asked these people to go and collect these herbs. He also said that these herbs were also very important and must be found. Moreover, they had to be of sufficient age. These herbs were also relatively difficult to find. Li Zhongzhou estimated that these people would need a lot of time to find them. However, what Li Zhongzhou did not expect was that, in just 3 days, Jiang Bai brought a group of people and arrived in front of Li Zhongzhou, covered in dust. Then, he presented all the medicinal ingredients to the table. It was Li Zhongzhou's turn to be shocked. Could it be that the resources of the sacred martial realm were so abundant? It was no wonder that these people cultivated so quickly. It was normal for young masters to be the norm. In the Xingu continent, a Sky Origin Ancestor realm expert was basically an old man. For example, the old sect master of the Wuxia alchemy sect had just entered the origin ancestor realm at an old age. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was also quite surprised. With so many herbs, Li Zongjiu could start refining the elixir he needed. Although he felt that the time was not yet right, Li Zongjiu estimated that he could not wait any longer. He had to get this matter done. Otherwise, Li Zongjiu did not know what would happen when he faced the enemy. He could only take a gamble. This time, Li Zongjiu spent a total of 5 days refining this elixir. After the tempering of this life, Li Zongjiu's alchemy realm had improved again, so when he refined the elixir, it was more perfect than in his previous life. When this elixir was refined next year, it was also more powerful. Gu Zun Soul Merging Elixir. Li Zongjiu used the materials of the sacred martial realm to refine the upgraded version of the Gu Zun Soul Merging Elixir. It was even more powerful than the previous Gu Zun Soul Merging Elixir. In my previous life, it was precisely this elixir that completely changed my fate. In this life, I want to see if my fate can be changed. Li Zongjiu's heart was also full of hope for this upgraded Gu Zun Soul Merging Elixir. However, after consuming the elixir, Li Zongjiu was bound to enter a state of seclusion. Even the timing of this seclusion was uncertain. Before going into seclusion, he also reminded Qi Yanran that if the enemy came, she must wake him up. If she could not defeat the enemy, she could leave first. Moreover, above the fallen city, more than a dozen formations were continuously arranged. Anyway, the number of upper-grade primordial stones in their hands was almost endless. At least, if they did not need to fight, it would be very difficult to consume so many primordial stones. Even if they were used to waste, it would be enough to continue for hundreds of years. In the end, Li Zongjiu handed the unparalleled sword to Qi Yanran. With Huo Wushuang's strength and the unparalleled sword, she should be able to hold on for a period of time. Qi Yanran was also extremely solemn. After all, this was not a trivial matter and she could not be careless. However, she also had to remind Li Zongjiu to cultivate in peace. Even Shaolan has a skill that can teleport hundreds of thousands of miles in an instant. I still have the ability to escape. Qi Yanran said. Li Zongjiu nodded and then came to a cave in the mountain. He removed all the things around him. Under such circumstances, he could cultivate without any distractions. As he circulated his yuan power, he adjusted his body to the peak state. Then, Li Zongjiu swallowed the Gu Zun Soul Merging Elixir. After consuming the elixir, there was no earth-shattering aura, but there was an earth-shattering change in Li Zongjiu's body. Boom! Immediately, in Li Zongjiu's body, 3 powerful and chaotic forces began to merge with each other. Chapter 1337. Li Zongjiu had already experienced the effects of the pill, so he didn't panic at all when he saw the fusion of his auntie's power. First, he waited quietly for the power to fuse with his own consciousness and state. At the critical moment, Li Zongjiu had to make a move himself. However, Li Zongjiu didn't relax at all during the process, because the fusion process was very mysterious. The slightest carelessness could lead to irreversible changes. Just as Li Zongjiu was about to fuse with his original soul, Qi Yanran also took out her blue bird platform. Every day, she cultivated in the city with the blue bird platform. The human race's sacred mountain had long known about the great battle here. They also knew that Li Zongjiu and the others had killed the enemy's Plague General and Death General, who were both members of the Sky Demons. Although the Sky Sha had suffered heavy losses during the final battle of the Great Yan Kingdom, their remaining strength could still easily destroy the entire sacred martial realm. The Beast God Temple's true strength was more terrifying than they'd imagined. Therefore, the top experts of the sacred mountain were all trying their best to find a way to break through to a higher level, as long as one of them could obtain power that surpassed the absolute saint realm. Then, they could completely destroy the Beast God Temple. What a pity! If those two had joined the sacred mountain and acted according to the plan, things wouldn't have turned out so badly. There are always people who think they're saviors who can save the world, but in the end, they make a mess and need us old men to clean up the mess. The sacred immortals of the sacred mountain had gathered together to discuss. They'd thought that those two had some potential, and if they'd been recruited, they might have had a chance to break through. But now, it seemed that those two were going to die without a doubt. They'd killed the sky demons. The sky demons would definitely make a move. These people were the foundation of the fallen race, and they wouldn't allow any harm to come to them. Moreover, the death of the sky demons' members was already a huge blow. The Beast God Temple would definitely investigate this matter. However, we don't have much time left. According to the current speed, their Tower of Inheritance will be completely teleported over in about 100 years. The Absolute Saints were also discussing matters together, but they didn't care about the deaths of Li Zhongjiu and the others at all. Instead, they talked about the sacred sovereign ruins. Of course, only a few of them knew about this. No one else would know where the ultimate mystery lay. Within Fallen City. Jiang Bai, Chu Yan, Guan Guan, and the others were also doing their best to cultivate. Although this kind of cultivation was not useful at all. But it was still better than doing nothing. Several days later. Qi Yanran, who was cultivating, suddenly looked up at the sky. It was as if a blood cloud was coming from afar. Qi Yanran opened her eyes and stared at the void above. The blue bird Dao platform he was sitting on was rapidly gathering power. Boom! A blood-red cloud directly attacked the fluctuation below. However, it was blocked by the defensive array above the city. Jiang Bai and the others were awakened by this wave of energy. They raised their heads and looked at the sky. It's coming. As they stared at the blood cloud in the sky, the two of them were clearly quite shocked in their hearts. With such a strong fluctuation, the entire city would have been destroyed under the first wave of probing attacks if there hadn't been a defensive formation. The two of them would have died before they could react. At this moment, looking at the vast blood cloud in front of them, the two of them were naturally shocked. Interesting. No wonder you could kill pestilence and death. A voice came from the blood cloud. It seemed to be affirming, but it also seemed to be mocking. Then, hundreds of thousands of rays of energy were suddenly released from the blood cloud and were rapidly falling down. Boom! 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 Every streak of crimson-red energy contained extremely terrifying waves of energy. As the fluctuations were released, the array above Fallen City was also activated. Boom! Boom! Fortunately, the Nirvana Heavenly Fire Array was quite powerful. Under the superposition of each other, there was no damage and it resisted the opponent's attack. However, no one knew how long the dense rain-like bombardment would last. On the contrary, the power of the array was rapidly depleting. Under the protection of the array, Fallen City seemed to have become a whole and was rapidly falling. It was directly blasted into the ground. Qi Yanran frowned slightly. The opponent's attack was extremely powerful. They didn't even show their real bodies, so Qi Yanran couldn't figure out how many people there were. However, the person controlling the blood cloud at this moment must be an expert of the Absolute Saint realm. Illusion. Qi Yanran called softly. The blue bird platform she was sitting on immediately rumbled. Under a ray of light, it turned into a pair of blue wings and appeared behind Qi Yanran. As the wings flapped, Qi Yanran rushed into the sky with her. Boom! After all, there were still people in the city. If the array was broken, these people would definitely die. It was better to save as many people as possible. Moreover, the array would only last a few days. In this case, it was better to take the initiative. When Qi Yanran turned the power of the blue bird platform into wings, there was a slight change in the blood cloud in the sky. It seemed that a terrifying fist force had suddenly emerged from the blood cloud, bringing with it a bloody aura that filled the sky and fell directly. Boom! The blue light behind Qi Yanran shone brightly. She rushed up and directly destroyed the bloody light. At the same time, the desolate heaven essence in her hand turned into a surging force and swept directly into the sky. Boom! The desolate heaven essence was like a long whip that shook the mountain. In an instant, the vast blood cloud was directly scattered by the desolate heaven essence. Immediately, countless bloody forces spread out in all directions. Something. The blood cloud dispersed. A figure in a red robe appeared between the sky and the earth. Although it was just a figure. However, it felt like an extremely terrifying heavenly pillar had completely sealed off the entire city. A mighty aura spread out directly. Similarly, opposite him, Qi Yanran's aura was no weaker than the other parties. I am Tiansha, Shui. Chapter 1338. Tiansha, Shui. When he heard this person's name, Chu Yenguan, who was in the city, trembled slightly. There was a look of disbelief in his eyes, and then a cold light flashed in his eyes. Shui. Back then, there was an expert named Shui among the Tiansha experts. It was Shui who led his men to attack the city and broke the defense set up by the Emperor of the Great Yan. He was extremely powerful. In the end, he fought with the Emperor of the Great Yan for 7 days and 7 nights. But in the end, the Emperor of the Great Yan also fell in his hands. With the fall of the Great Yan Emperor, the defense line of the Great Yan Kingdom had also collapsed, and the speed of its decline was rather fast, which was completely unexpected. And the Shui in front of him was Chu Yenguan's enemy. But the other party's strength was too strong. In front of Shui, Chu Yenguan was just as weak as an ant. Originally, Chu Yenguan also thought that revenge was hopeless. But this time, he was able to see his enemy again, which was also a blessing for him. At least, there was still a chance. Chu Yenguan held a jade pendant in his hand. This was a technique that his father had sealed in the jade pendant with extremely strong power when he had predicted the ominous consequences that would befall him. Chu Yenguan knew the price of this jade pendant, so he had never used it in any dangerous situation. Until now, Chu Yenguan took a deep breath and fixed his eyes on the other party. As long as there was a chance, he would use the power of this jade pendant to completely kill the enemy. Kill his enemy with his own hands. Shui Ye's indifferent eyes swept across the fallen city below, and then he withdrew them. The only person who was a little threatening was in front of him. As for the people below, they were basically no threat at all. In his eyes, they were not even as weak as ants. So, he directly focused his attention on Qi Yanran in front of him. This was because he felt a trace of threat from Qi Yanran. Among the 7 old guys, whose disciple are you? A trace of pride flashed in Shui Ye's eyes, but he was quite surprised that Qi Yanran had such a high cultivation. Therefore, Shui Yi himself also looked at Qi Yanran with a condescending attitude. If Qi Yanran was a disciple of one of the holy immortals on the holy mountain, he was only 1 generation younger than him. I'm your great aunt. Qi Yanran had been with Li Zongjiu for a long time, and sometimes she had learned bad things. But a nephew like you is too disgusting. I've decided to get rid of you personally. After saying that, Qi Yanran shook her head in disappointment. She seemed to be extremely pained by Blood Night. Shui Yi himself was stunned. He was one of the Blood Fiend 5 saints. But now, he was actually taken advantage of by a teenage girl. The high-level fallen race already looked exactly the same as humans, but the blood flowing in their bodies was different. It was this point that completely separated the 2 races. They had the same appearance, but different inside. Moreover, both sides were extremely powerful and intelligent, so this was very normal. In the end, only one side would survive. You're courting death. Shui Yi waved his hand and turned a piece of dark cloud into a blood cloud out of thin air. It fell directly toward Qi Yanran in front of him. The moment the blood cloud fell, it transformed into an extremely terrifying scene. It seemed as if there were tens of millions of blood beasts running in the blood cloud. The powerful aura they brought rushed directly toward Qi Yanran. Qi Yanran did not dare to be careless. Shui Yi was a true absolute saint expert. In terms of strength, he was even more powerful than the heavenly monster tribe. A casual move from him was enough to make her go all out. The wings on her back shook. Suddenly, a terrifying green light burst out from her body. The green light seemed to turn into a terrifying light sword. It directly collided with the blood cloud formed by Shui Ye's blood beast's army with a boom. Boom! Immediately, the terrifying blood cloud was split into two by the green light. At this very moment, all of the blood beast's power had been completely destroyed. Shui Ye's eyes flashed with surprise. After all, there were not many people who could break his move in one move. However, this was not the end. Qi Yanran also knew that her strength was not Shui Ye's match. If she were to be entangled for a long time, it would be disadvantageous for her. Therefore, Qi Yanran directly used her killer move. Under the green light, another 3 rays of light broke through the air. It seemed to have shattered the space in front of it and was directly transmitted to Shui Yi. Insignificant skill. Shui Yi sneered when he saw this. However, in the next moment, there was a boom. Suddenly, 3 holes appeared on Shui Ye's body. Even Shui Ye's extremely exquisite cloak had 3 holes in it. Qi Yanran clapped her hands and the desolate heaven essence immediately turned into a rope and trapped Shui Yi. At the same time, Qi Yanran increased the output of the light beam and injected her yuan power into it. Boom! This power instantly burned Shui Ye's body. Shui Yi immediately roared to the sky. Below in Fallen City, Chu Yan, Guan Yan, and the others were dumbfounded. Could it be that Senior Qi Yanran was going to win? She won so easily. Not to mention whether she would win or not, just the appearance of this move had almost exhausted Qi Yanran's strength. Moreover, this move was Qi Yanran's most powerful move. It could be said that she had used all her strength. It was not as simple as it looked. Shui Yi did not expect Qi Yanran to directly use her killer move. At the same time, Shui Yi himself had not fought for a long time. Since there was a chance now, he would like to exchange a few moves with Qi Yanran. He wanted to see how strong Qi Yanran was and play with the person in front of him. Is that all? You seem to have reached the peak. The corners of Shui Ye's mouth curled into a sneer. He swung his hand fiercely. With a loud bang, the 3 light beams in front of him were directly shattered. What? Qi Yanran's 5-colored divine light was broken by her opponent. At the same time, the injuries on Shui Ye's body rapidly recovered. While recovering, Shui Yi directly stretched out his hand toward Qi Yanran. Boom! A terrifying bloody hand slapped toward Qi Yanran. This move almost sealed all of Qi Yanran's escape routes. There was no way for her to escape. Boom! Qi Yanran's wings blocked in front of her body. With one move, her body retreated rapidly. Chapter 1339. Shui Ye's attack directly pushed Qi Yanran back, and her body smashed into the city. Boom! A huge pit appeared under Qi Yanran's body. Although Shui Ye's attack was powerful, it did not hurt Qi Yanran. After all, the power of the Green Bird platform was beyond imagination. It was also a treasure of the Demon Clan. Shui Yi had also discovered the strength of the Azure Bird Dao platform, and immediately exclaimed in surprise. Girl, your strength is average, but you have a lot of treasures in your hands. Even the power of the 5-color divine light released by Qi Yanran left a deep impression on Shui Yi. If his strength was slightly weaker just now, he would have been crippled. Even if his defense could not block it, if it were any other person from the sky demons, they might not be able to block it, so it was still quite dangerous. Qi Yanran's strength was not strong, but she had a lot of tricks up her sleeve. This made Shui Yi rather displeased. How could a human girl like her own such a powerful Dharma treasure? As for the fallen clan, they were already top-notch powerhouses, but they had very few treasures in their hands. Of course, there were some, but because there were so few of them, they could not have them. They did not even get their hands on them, but all of them fell into the hands of the elders. If they wanted some top treasures, they had to do it themselves. Without any hesitation, Shui Yi immediately leaped down. He directly rushed down to the fallen city below. Boom! In the sky above the fallen city, the power of a terrifying array suddenly filled the air. Shui Yi, who swooped down, was actually sent flying. Shui Ye's eyes also flashed with a trace of surprise as he flew backwards. How could this be? Shui Ye's eyes flashed with a cold light. He had tested the array just now, and its power could at most block 30% of his power. But just now, he used 50% of his power, and he was still sent flying. There's someone else. There was someone who could hide under his nose. This caused Shui Ye's eyes to be rather surprised. Immediately, he quickly searched, wanting to find the location of this figure. Beside Qi Yanran, a light sword with an incomparably sharp aura emerged. At this moment it was also emitting an extremely intense sharpness in all directions. In fact, it was even heading straight for the sky. A figure gradually appeared on the sword. At this moment it was displayed in front of everyone's eyes. When they saw this figure appear, Chu Yan, Guan Yan, and the others were also quite shocked. This was because the figure that appeared was also a peerless beauty. Her appearance could be said to be devastatingly beautiful. Compared with Qi Yanran, she had another level of beauty. She was even more beautiful with a kind of sharpness, which made people not dare to look directly at her and not dare to approach her. Most importantly, they had never seen this person before. This is, Jiang Bai and the others were also very surprised. The strength of the person in front of them was enough to shock both of them. Such an expert was actually able to hide beside the two of them, and they didn't even have the slightest clue before. It was truly amazing. Qi Yanran knew very well that she was no match for him. If she continued to fight, it might not be beneficial to her. Therefore, while she still had some strength, she directly joined forces with Huo Wushuang to see if they could force him back. Huo Wushuang's figure emerged. Immediately, an earth-shattering flame spread across the sky above fallen city. Rumble. Huo Wushuang also made a series of hand seals, immediately operating a terrifying array on the spot. Then, he activated the array formation under his seat. There were more than 10 heavenly fire nirvana arrays. At this moment, all of them had merged into a large array. Although Huo Wushuang's array cultivation had not reached the 10th level, in fact, his own cultivation was infinitely close to the 10th level. He was only missing the last bit of opportunity. If he could sense this powerful formation and comprehend it, he would be able to figure out the last barrier. Then, breaking through would be a matter of course. At this moment, there were more than 10 hell lotuses blooming in the sky above the fallen city. The momentum was so great that it directly forced Shui Yi to take 2 steps back. Under this light, there was also a considerable amount of shock. A divine array master! Shui Yi exclaimed. Shui Yi had also experienced the terror of an array master. The strength of these array masters simply made the people of the fallen clan want to kill them as soon as possible. At the same time, they also thought that they must get rid of these array masters, which was why they targeted the array master's assassination. The Beast God Temple's assassination hall also became famous because of this. The bloodshed of that year had basically wiped out the roots of array masters. At most, only a few of them were left. However, it would still take a long time for them to cultivate to become a top array master. At least, it was not the time for them to do so now. Why did such a powerful array master appear in front of him? Xue Ye's heart was a little nervous, but if he could kill a divine array master, the credit he could obtain would naturally be considerable. Xue Yi still wanted to make a contribution and go one step further. If he could become an elder, there would be more opportunities for Xue Yi to improve his own strength. Today is a good opportunity for me, Xue Yi, to make a contribution. Immediately, Xue Yi let out a low growl. With a shake of his body, he charged downwards. This time, his body quickly condensed into a bloody cloud that overflowed the sky. Blood Cloud Tornado. It was as if there was a blood-red tornado revolving around him, maintaining such a terrifying power. Huo Wuxuang gently raised his hand, and the dozens of hell lotuses in front of him instantly spewed out a pillar of flame from the center of the flower. Boom! Boom! The pillar of flame directly converged with the blood cloud in mid-air. It was originally a defensive array, but in Huo Wuxuang's hands, it directly became an offensive array. Moreover, this offensive array was also quite powerful. Its power was really terrifying. Even Qi Yanran did not expect that when the array's power was activated, it would have such a terrifying offensive power. What a strong power! Even Qi Yanran herself did not know that the array's power was so strong. At this moment, the blood cloud around Xue Yi was also severely damaged. Xue Yi, who had exposed himself, was instantly hit by several hell lotuses' flames. Immediately, Xue Yi was blasted away. Moreover, under such power, Xue Yi was also severely injured by the flames. The flames blasted Xue Yi away, at least a few thousand miles away. At this moment, half of Xue Yi's body was almost destroyed by the flames. It looked extremely terrifying. I don't believe it. Today, your life as an array master will fall into my hands. Transform. Royal Bloodwing Bat. Chapter 1340. Immediately, Xue Yi's figure grew bigger. A pair of blood-red bat wings sprouted from his back. After appearing, the aura around Xue Yi's body became extremely terrifying. Facing Xue Yi's soaring aura, a light flashed in Qi Yanran's eyes. However, Huo Wuxuang didn't seem to feel any fear. His hands continued to form seals to control the array in front of him. Then, the great array behind him began to condense. The dozens of Hell's lotus flowers also condensed into an even larger Hell's lotus flower. Boom! Xue Yi didn't say anything else. He directly flew down with the power of the blood bat. As he flew, the space around him trembled violently. It seemed like it would shatter in the next second. A terrifying pressure descended. Even though they were separated by a large array, they could still clearly feel the opponent's power. It seemed like it was brewing above their heads. Qi Yanran secretly clenched her fists. If Huo Wuxuang couldn't block it, then they could only fight to the death. If that happened, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, Huo Wuxuang's means were beyond imagination. He was a true array master. After Huo Wuxuang condensed such power, the fire lotus around him directly collided with the power of the blood bat in front of him with a boom. Boom! The domineering power was like layers upon layers of waves, rapidly sweeping out into the distance. Huo Wuxuang was expressionless. A huge wave of flames spread out in the sky. One could see that Xue Yi's figure was forced to retreat. Then, Huo Wuxuang immediately flipped his wrist and released the unparalleled sword. It violently swept forward. Boom! The unparalleled sword seemed to contain a shocking slash. It directly slashed the sky in front of him into two halves. Xue Yi let out a low growl. He was actually forced to retreat by the opponent's move. He flew through the air and spurted out a stream of blood. Obviously, he was severely injured by the sword. Xue Yi's figure instantly flew back a few hundred miles. He directly shifted in the sky. Obviously, the power of the sword was quite strong. It was unbearable for Shui. He was severely injured. Qi Yanran's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise, but then her eyes revealed a strange light. In the blink of an eye, his expression became solemn. After Hou Wuxuang used this move, his body seemed to be unable to support it anymore. Immediately, the unparalleled sword fell from the sky, bringing Hou Wuxuang to the ground with a swoosh. It landed right in front of Qi Yanran. Clearly, Hou Wuxuang's strength had been completely exhausted at this moment, and it was difficult for him to continue fighting. It was even difficult for him to leave the unparalleled sword. Qi Yanran held the unparalleled sword in her hand. A light flashed in his eyes. Next, it was time to truly go all out. Shui was indeed frightened by the sword just now. The sword had almost pierced through his cultivation core. Fortunately, the sword had missed by a bit. That was why he didn't directly shatter his core. Otherwise, Shui really wouldn't be able to hold on. He had never thought that the battle he had fought would be so arduous. Even Shui himself was quite surprised. However, Shui soon discovered something. The other party had actually disappeared. The fierce woman just now had actually disappeared. Could it be some kind of insidious trick? Shui thought to himself. After all, the human clan was full of tricks, and the other party was a powerful array master. Therefore, it would be troublesome if some top existence used some kind of trick to trick him. Therefore, Shui was very cautious. However, after Shui observed for a while, he realized that there was indeed nothing wrong with the person in front of him. The fallen city below seemed to have used up all the energy of the array. Immediately, a light flashed in Shui's eyes. Good timing. At this moment, Shui mustered up his courage and descended. As expected, when he got close to the fallen city, there was no longer any obstruction from the array. All the energy just now was wasted in an instant with this move. I almost died here. Shui's lips curled into a cold smile. In the face of the current situation, Shui still didn't let down his guard. He observed the situation around him at all times. But obviously, after his transformation, Qi Yanran was no longer his opponent. However, he still had to be careful of Hou Wuxuang, who had attacked him ruthlessly just now. I thought it was strange. That guy is just a sword spirit. Shui said slowly. Now, after a slight reaction, he immediately realized that it was no wonder that he didn't find Hou Wuxuang's figure before. Now, he couldn't sense any trace of Hou Wuxuang. He immediately understood what was going on. You will die here today. Qi Yanran didn't say much nonsense and said indifferently. Her murderous aura was released directly. This made Shui slightly stunned. Then, the expression on his face turned cold again. Okay, I'll give it a try. Shui immediately waved his hand. The blood bat wings on his back pulled out dozens of blood blades and suddenly swept forward. Boom! The blood blades exploded on the spot. Qi Yanran immediately resisted this move. Boom! Boom! The blood blades hit the unparalleled sword in Qi Yanran's hand. She instantly retreated with the unparalleled sword. Pang! He slammed into a wall, shattering the entire wall. Puff! Qi Yanran spat out a mouthful of blood. The next moment, the unparalleled sword in her hands was sucked by a huge force and flew towards her opponent's hand. Oh no! Qi Yanran released the desolate heaven essence and instantly bound the unparalleled sword. However, Shui's strength had far exceeded Qi Yanran's. Even the desolate heaven essence in his hand only lasted for a few seconds before flying out. Whoosh! The unparalleled sword fell towards Shui. However, just as Shui was about to grab the unparalleled sword, suddenly, a powerful force was released from the side. Boom! The unparalleled sword was easily caught by a hand. When Shui looked over, he was immediately furious. The one who made the move was a young man. What's that? Shui Ye's eyes emitted a cold light. Why was there another person? However, when Qi Yanran saw the young figure, her eyes widened instantly and her face was filled with ecstasy. Zongjiu. Chapter 1341. Qi Yanran's face suddenly revealed a look of pleasant surprise. His originally dim eyes once again released a luster at this moment. When he saw Li Zongjiu appear, the uneasiness in his heart was finally able to settle down. As long as she could be with Li Zongjiu, even if she had to die, Qi Yanran had nothing to be afraid of. It's Senior Li Zongjiu. Jiang Bai and the others were also overjoyed. For a long time, it was not clear who was stronger between Qi Yanran and Li Zongjiu. But no matter what, after Li Zongjiu appeared and joined forces with Qi Yanran, they would definitely be able to force the opponent away. This situation was obviously a turning point in the battle. You deserve to die. Li Zongjiu held the matchless sword and looked indifferently at Shui Yi in front of him. However, when Shui Yi saw Li Zongjiu in front of him, he did not pay attention to Li Zongjiu at first, but he was also a little puzzled in his heart. Where did this Li Zongjiu come from? Just now, he had clearly searched for a while and did not find any other figures or other threats. Why were there always one after another? To him, there was simply something wrong. Could it be that his bat sensed something wrong? Otherwise, why would people keep popping out? Or Li Zongjiu, who was in front of him, was not a real person at all. It can't be another artifact spirit, right? What kind of nonsense is this? Shui Yi was already a little annoyed. These people who popped out were simply causing trouble for him. And Shui Yi did not like things to become so troublesome, so he wanted to kill them first. Immediately, Shui Yi waved his hand. A terrifying blood blade was thrown directly at Li Zongjiu. Bang! Before this blood blade could get close to Li Zongjiu, it was shattered by a powerful force. It was the fluctuation of Yuan power around Li Zongjiu. One could even faintly see a few shadows of coiling dragons appearing behind Li Zongjiu, forming a protective state that prevented the opponent's move from approaching. When Qi Yanran saw this scene, a slight trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. This. Could it be? Immediately, Qi Yanran's face revealed a shocked expression. Li Zongjiu. He actually broke through. Interesting. When Shui Yi saw that Li Zongjiu was actually able to block his move with just his own fluctuations, a cold glint appeared on his face. Looking down on me. Boom. The wings on his back flapped, and suddenly, a blood-red wing shadow whizzed forward, boom. The terrifying power directly swept towards Li Zongjiu. This move easily destroyed the houses along the way. Rumble. Li Zongjiu grabbed the unparalleled sword with both hands and slashed forward with all his might. Boom. A ray of sword chi instantly cut off the blood wings. After that, the sword chi shot back along the way. Boom. Shui Ye's body soared into the sky. He avoided being struck by the sword, but the power of this sword was indeed quite powerful. Even Shui Yi had no choice but to retreat and take the initiative to avoid it. How is this possible? You're also an absolute saint. Shui Yi had never thought that there would be such a young absolute saint expert. One must know that the current sacred immortals of the sacred mountain were all old bones, and they were basically old bones without any guts. There was no need to be afraid of such old bones. He understood that these people were cowardly and wanted to enjoy their old age, but he had never seen such a young absolute saint expert like Li Zongjiu. Buddha's palm. Shui Yi suddenly felt a strong pressure coming from above his head, making him feel as if his body was about to collapse. He looked up and saw a black pagoda falling from the sky, smashing down on his head. This made Shui Yi want to dodge as well. However, the pagoda seemed to be locked onto him. Even with his strength, he couldn't dodge it, so he could only take it head-on. Boom! Shui Yi used all the strength in his body to push out his origin energy, and only then did he manage to shatter the pagoda. As soon as he shattered the pagoda, he saw another golden palm coming down. Mountain-toppling golden seal. Boom! With another slap, Shui Yi was sent flying to the ground. 2. Like a cannonball, he crashed into a mountain that was hundreds of meters tall. Then, the mountain collapsed with a loud bang. It was directly destroyed by Shui Yi's tyrannical body. Clearly, Shui Yi himself had suffered a great loss from this move. In front of Li Zongjiu, he didn't have the slightest ability to retaliate. After breaking through, Li Zongjiu was invincible. Triple Dragon Sword. Li Zongjiu operated his Yuan Li and integrated the power of the three original spirits into the unparalleled sword. Then, it exploded. Boom! As the sword aura moved, it turned into three ferocious dragons. Instantly, the mountain in front of him that had already been shattered was turned into powder again. One of the silhouettes was sent flying again. He was sent flying by the three dragons for a distance of hundreds of thousands of meters. Along the way, he crashed through the mountain peaks, creating a tunnel. Some of the smaller mountain peaks were also blasted into smithereens. Bang! Finally, Shui Yi's figure lay on the ground. Blood was gushing out of his mouth. He struggled to get up, but before he could do so, he saw a figure appear in front of him. You! Who are you? Shui Yi couldn't believe it. He was defeated by a human. Terrifying. Most importantly, he was easily defeated by Li Zongjiu, as if he was a noob. Looking at the young man in front of him, the indifference in his eyes pierced deep into his soul. It was as if his soul was going to be drawn out. Li Zongjiu reached out and grabbed Shui Yi. With a flash, he returned to Fallen City. He looked at Shui Yi's pair of wings. Without hesitation, Li Zongjiu slashed down with his sword and cut off Shui Yi's wings. Ah! This pair of wings wasn't condensed from energy, but a part of Shui Yi's body. However, it was easily cut off by Li Zongjiu. I'll leave it to you. Li Zongjiu looked at Qi Yanran and said. Qi Yanran had been injured by this guy, so Li Zongjiu naturally wouldn't kill him. That would be letting him off too easily. The desolate heaven essence in Qi Yanran's hand gathered in her palm. Finally, the desolate heaven essence turned into countless water droplets. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Qi Yanran struck out with her palm. The desolate heaven essence in her hand turned into countless sharp fragments and pierced through Shui Yi's body. Chapter 1342. Shui Yi was severely injured by this blow. Originally, Shui Yi had already been severely injured by Li Zongjiu's attack. Therefore, Shui Yi didn't last long under Qi Yanran's attack. If it wasn't for his strong cultivation, he would have at least a breath of life. If he was in the Supreme Being realm, he would have died a long time ago. Qi Yanran didn't torture this guy too much. After all, Shui Yi didn't gain much from the beginning and was even at a disadvantage. In the end, it was also because He Wushuang had retreated that this guy became arrogant. What are you going to do? Qi Yanran looked at Li Zongjiu. This was a Supreme Saint powerhouse. No matter what he was used for, he would be very useful. If he was used well, the effect that could be exerted would be unimaginable. Let's see what's in his head. Torture was of no use to these people. It would only be effective if one personally took action and seized the other party's soul. Of course, this also required a strong mind power. Unfortunately, Li Zongjiu happened to have such strong mind power. You! What are you trying to do? Shui Yi stared coldly at Li Zongjiu. Although Shui Yi was at a disadvantage now, he believed that these people wouldn't dare to do anything to him. Do you know the price of killing me? Shui Yi said coldly. The Tian Sha of the Beast God Temple would never allow such a huge loss. If Shui Yi died, at least tens of millions of humans would have to die in order to make up for this loss. It was precisely because of such a painful price that these people were afraid to act rashly and did not dare to act rashly. But Li Zhongjiu couldn't care less. He pressed his hand on Shui Ye's head and the corners of his mouth curled into a sneer. I've just comprehended a skill recently. You can feel it in advance. In the next moment, Li Zhongjiu's eyes began to move gently, as if there was a soul swimming in Li Zhongjiu's eyes. Li Zhongjiu was born with the evil soul eye before, but it was different now. In the past, when he used the evil soul eye, it often consumed a lot of mind power. It was because of this skill that Li Zhongjiu was able to save his life many times. After this breakthrough, Li Zhongjiu's mind power suddenly skyrocketed. It turned out that Li Zhongjiu also had a very special constitution. Once one's physique was activated, the benefits one could obtain were innumerable. Now, Li Zhongjiu had directly grasped some powerful and terrifying skills. Otherwise, even if he had just broken through to the absolute saint realm, he wouldn't be Shui Ye's match. Moreover, Shui Ye's strength was already relatively strong. After all, he had broken through to the absolute saint realm a few hundred years ago. As for what Li Zhongjiu's constitution was called, Li Zhongjiu didn't know. However, the evil soul eye's existence was due to Li Zhongjiu's extremely powerful mental strength. This mind power was so strong that Li Zhongjiu could directly compete with experts of the absolute saint realm who were third grade and above. How strong was a third grade absolute saint realm? Li Zhongjiu didn't know. However, even if there were 10 of Shui Ye's strength, they could easily defeat him. There was no problem at all. How dare you? Shui Ye roared. However, such a harmless threat was completely ignored by Li Zhongjiu. He pressed his hand on Shui Ye's head and activated his mind power, directly extracting Shui Ye's soul power from his body. Boom! Shui Ye's body immediately stiffened on the spot and didn't move. However, he was still alive and didn't die immediately. Shui Ye felt that his mind power seemed to have come to a space of nothingness. In this space, there was the chaotic qi. The chaotic qi was a very terrifying place. It could be said that the fallen clan had escaped from the chaotic qi with great difficulty. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had to go through so much trouble to move the beast god temple to the sacred martial realm. Because it was too painful to live in the chaotic qi, the fallen clan wanted to find a more comfortable place. In the end, they found the sacred martial realm. Now, when he sensed the chaotic qi again, fear instantly penetrated Shui Ye's mind power. As for the information that Li Zhongjiu wanted, he didn't even need Shui Ye to speak. Li Zhongjiu could find the answer from Shui Ye. However, Shui Ye's appearance in Li Zhongjiu's spiritual hell was only that of a bat. Li Zhongjiu used the spiritual chains to imprison Shui Ye in the spiritual hell. At the same time, he also learned about this Tiansha. Among them, the strongest was only a third-grade saint, which was equivalent to a third-grade absolute saint. After understanding this, Li Zhongjiu naturally had nothing to be afraid of. He returned to the fallen city. First, he healed Qi Yanran's injuries. This battle was also very difficult. Fortunately, Qi Yanran was there to support the DNA. Otherwise, who knew how many people would have died? From what he understood from Shui Ye's mind power, Shui Ye came out of seclusion this time to find Qi Yanran and Li Zhongjiu and kill them both. He wanted to kill tens of millions of people to obtain enough blood qi to go back and refine a group of stronger fallen clan warriors. He wanted to use them to kill more people and obtain blood qi to enhance the strength of the beast god temple. Although this kind of mission seemed to be insignificant, since they had already come out, it was not a big deal to complete it. The most important thing was that these people of the fallen race had such violent elements in them. Even if they had nothing to do, they had to create some trouble. Fortunately, Li Zhongjiu stopped them. Now, he was also suffering in the spiritual hell. Your body constitution is also strange. When Li Zongjiu healed Qi Yanran, he also discovered that Qi Yanran's body constitution was extremely strong. It was even stronger than Li Zongjiu's. However, it was still in a state of waiting to be activated and had not really erupted. Previously, the elder of the Sparrow Divine Palace also told me what my body constitution was, but I didn't remember it. After all, even if I remembered it, I wouldn't know. At that time, I just wanted to get out of here early and see you early. When Qi Yanran said this, she actually became shy. This time, the injury actually allowed Qi Yanran's cultivation to progress further. The greater the setback, the greater Qi Yanran's gain. She even felt this gain involuntarily. Even if you don't want it, you can get it directly. I seem to be about to break through. Qi Yanran's eyes were suddenly filled with surprise. Chapter 1343. She's going to break through. Li Zongjiu was stunned for a moment, and then he was overjoyed. It was so fast. He had to admit that this was entirely due to Qi Yanran's own physique. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was also quite happy for Qi Yanran. Don't worry about breaking through. I will protect you. With me here, no one can disturb you. Li Zongjiu said. With Li Zongjiu's current strength, he was naturally qualified to say such words. If Shui came, he would simply be defeated by Li Zongjiu. There was no threat to him at all. According to Li Zongjiu's guess, the people of Sacred Mountain would come soon. With these people's character, after knowing that Li Zongjiu had killed these people, they would certainly come to curry favor with him. To put it bluntly, they would come to recruit Li Zongjiu and recruit Li Zongjiu to Sacred Mountain. In these people's opinion, Li Zongjiu would be very willing to join Sacred Mountain and become the guardian of the human race. Unfortunately, Li Zongjiu wasn't interested in these things at all. If these people knew what was good for them, they wouldn't disturb him. If they didn't, then don't blame Li Zongjiu for being impolite. Killing these people was just a very simple thing for Li Zongjiu. Qi Yanran was breaking through in a courtyard. Now that there was no one in the fallen city, it naturally became the territory of Li Zongjiu and the others. It was unknown how much effort it would take to gather all the people in the city. Recently, Chu Yan was also comprehending the mental cultivation method taught by Qi Yanran. He emboldened himself and came to Li Zongjiu to ask for advice. After all, Li Zongjiu was usually relatively cold, so under normal circumstances, no one dared to approach him. But in reality, Li Zongjiu's character was not that unreasonable. Moreover, Chu Yanguan had received the inheritance of Qi Yanran. Li Zongjiu had also guided Chu Yanguan on behalf of Qi Yanran. As for Jiang Bai, he was also working hard. Jiang Bai's talent wasn't low either. With Li Zongjiu's occasional guidance, the two girls immediately made great progress. When Li Zongjiu had nothing to do, he sat in the courtyard next to Qi Yanran, fishing and making tea. Even Li Zongjiu hadn't thought that breaking through to the absolute saint realm would be so easy. Throughout the entire process, Li Zongjiu almost doubted the authenticity of his own cultivation. However, Li Zongjiu also knew that the reason he was able to break through so easily was because of the assistance of the 4 Supreme Dragon Souls. Now, the 4 Supreme Dragon Souls had also injected all of their powers into his body. Li Zongjiu's Hell method had also achieved a breakthrough, and his strength had greatly increased. Most importantly, Li Zongjiu's own body had been activated. Now, even if he didn't cultivate every day, he would still make great progress. Since I don't know what to call it, I'll just call it the body of evil god. It sounds vulgar, but it's domineering enough. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. Half a month had already passed. On this day, the sun was shining brightly and there were no clouds in the sky. According to Jiang Bai, it was the beginning of spring. It was a good day for everything to recover. It's a good day for everything to recover. Don't come looking for trouble at this time. Li Zongjiu said leisurely. Huo Wushuang was also repairing the formation. After controlling the formation last time, Huo Wushuang's understanding of the formation seemed to have reached a higher level. His cultivation in array formations was increasing almost every moment. Li Zongjiu estimated that she was not far from becoming a god-level formation master. When a skill reached its peak, it would bring about a very terrifying change. Li Zongjiu was like this, cultivating his alchemy skills directly to the realm of the deity. He could easily become an expert, and this skill would not be forgotten no matter where he went. If Huo Wushuang cultivated the formation to its peak, there would be an unexpected miracle. Speaking of which, there's already someone who has reached the god level in formations. Li Zongjiu thought. It was the heavenly demon dragon Sparrow from the heavenly demon tribe. That girl had already reached the god level in formations. Otherwise, the 3 elders of the Sparrow Divine Palace would not have been captured so easily. Something like this had happened. Now that Li Zongjiu had broken through, he was confident that he could fight with the heavenly demon dragon Sparrow. If he had to do it again, it would not be like the last time when he had to escape through the teleportation formation. It was too embarrassing. Just thinking about it made him feel very embarrassed. Fortunately, it was not too late for him to break through, and he would have a chance to get it back sooner or later. Above the sky, a ray of light surged. Buzz! It was like a ray of light that pierced through the heavens and earth, like a golden sun, hanging high in the sky at this moment, blooming with intense light. Boom! Huo Wushuang saw 2 powerful rays of golden flame in front of her. Furthermore, the other party had released his aura. It was obvious that he had come with hostility. Therefore, Huo Wushuang's expression was not too polite, and there was even a trace of coldness in her eyes that slowly emerged. She stared at the people in front of her. There were a total of 4 people. 2 elders and 2 young people. The young people were a man and a woman. Their expressions were arrogant and their lips were thin. When they looked at the dilapidated city below, a trace of disdain involuntarily appeared in their eyes. They had actually come to such a desolate place for a person who did not know what was good for him. Although cities like the Fallen City were being attacked by the Fallen Clan, these great nations lived in a peaceful environment. Therefore, they had never seen such a dilapidated city. If the 2 of them were to live in such a place, they naturally would not be willing to. Therefore, there was helplessness in their eyes, and they only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Master, who exactly is it down there? To think that you would personally make a move. East-coming Sage Immortal scratched his snow-white beard. Although he was standing high up in the sky, his eyes had already taken in everything below. Among them, he naturally saw Li Zongjiu, who was leisurely fishing in the courtyard. Although Li Zongjiu is arrogant and unruly, he has real skills. If we can train him well and use him for our sacred mountain, it will be a good thing. Some time ago, Shuiyi of the Beast God Temple's Tian Sha group died in his hands. Alright, let's go down and see what kind of skills this kid has. It's not easy to enter our sacred mountain. Not everyone has such qualifications. The other one was called North Sky Sage Immortal. It did not matter what his real name was, but this nickname must be resounding. Before he arrived, his name had already resounded in the sky. Let's go down. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.